like downtown. It's one of the,
Chair Welch, time is 6 o'clock.
it's like teen apartments, right on the, yeah.
Is that where you live?
I just like flew out there.
Oh, just,
Yeah, there's no water in the Diamond Pool
Yeah.
area. There could be holding people up.
Yeah, too, but
well,
This is,
are they something? Sound or. Well, they circle. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, all I have to do is say,
Neighborhood Board number 5 meeting will be called to order now.
there's going on at home. Okay,
Hi, are you there?
hi, we'll start the meeting now. Sorry about that. Diamond Head.
I'm
Neighborhood
here,
doesn't
Arlene,
have
sorry.
water.
Hey, Arlene.
Hi.
Yeah, so did
Yeah,
you
I'll
call
let
the
you
meeting
take
to
over.
order? Okay, yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was just, wait for a second. So are we at the first item of business, which is our public safety reports with the fire department, Waikiki Station?
Hi, hello everyone. Oden Tanaka, fire captain here at Waikiki Fire Station on Engine 7. I have firefighter 1 Kamu Morita here to read off our incident stats and safety tip of the month.
All right, good evening, everyone. Like Captain said, firefighter Marito with Engine 7 second watch. For the incident statistics for March 2025, regarding fires, we had 1 structure, 0 wildland or brush. We had 4 nuisance calls. Nuisance includes fires that include rubbish fires or outside a structure or a vehicle. We have 2 cooking fires and 2 activated alarms with no fire. As far as emergencies, 79 medical. We had 2 motor vehicle collisions with pedestrians, 14 motor vehicle crash or collisions, 2 mountain rescues, 0 ocean rescues, and 0 hazardous materials incidents. For April 2025, fire safety tips for evacuation planning. We just have that you ensure you have an emergency preparedness plan in place for situations like environmental emergencies, fires, or natural disasters. Familiarize yourself with at least 2 escape routes from your home and plan an evacuation path if you must leave your neighborhood due to an emergency. Of course, for more information, you guys can visit fire.honolulu.gov. And then some other tips we have: leave early to avoid getting trapped by fire, smoke, or traffic delays. Set up a predetermined meeting spot like a trusted neighbor or relative's home, a low-risk area, a shelter, or evacuation center. And then bring your emergency supply kit with essential items for your family and pets. And then that's all we have for this month.
Thank you, sir. Are there questions for our Honolulu Fire Department, Waikiki Station? Go ahead,
Chair
Ms.
Welch.
Matson. Ms. Matson?
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, I'm just getting set up at my desk right now. However, I did want to log on early because time and again, we really appreciate the fire department's dedication, all the firefighters, the chief, have really come to our rescue many times in the Diamond Head sub-district, and some very crucial events. However, we only get a link to a website that gives us red balloons where open fires have occurred on Diamond Head, which is a huge hazard. It could be another Lahaina. Winds whipping around Diamond Head, going into sending sparks from homeless campfires into Kahala, Kaimuki, Kapahulu, the Diamond Head neighborhoods, Kapiolani Park, and jumping into Waikiki, another Lahaina. We need specific details every month regarding the homeless encampment fires. You have different terms. You have brush fires, you have open fires, you have nuisance fires. We need to know the specific locations. We've only been referred to a website with red balloons with general locations around Diamond Head. We have no idea the most approximate address these fires have occurred. We have photographs of fire engines lining up along Diamond Head Road when huge fires have broken out. We had a 2-acre fire up near KCC a couple of years ago. We need specific information. Additionally, the State Parks Division has taken it upon themselves to enter into a contract for resiliency against wildfires. And the first stage of their contract focuses on Diamond Head. Has the local Waikiki station communicated with state parks regarding this contract, this effort, and the results, the status to date? Thank you.
I'm sorry, Michelle. I have an alarm right now. I will note and jot down your concerns regarding that. More information on the balloons on the fire response map. We've been trying to express to you that beyond that, you can get the address and the date of location for incident, and you can go ahead and request for an incident report on top of our website, and that's how you can obtain the information that you're looking for. I'm sorry, I need to go.
We need
Thank you.
direct, all right, board, we
Thank
need
you.
direct information from the fire department. This does not suffice. We either go to the captain or we go to the chief, because we are not getting the information that we need in order to communicate with our concerned community. This is a matter of essence and emergency. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Mattson. And perhaps you would care to drop a resolution to that effect for us to consider for the next meeting.
I don't know, respectfully, Mr. Chair, I don't know that it takes a resolution. There have been constant notices on our agenda. We have received very superficial information. Perhaps the chair can communicate directly with the chief, the fire chief on this matter. I would be certainly willing to assist as the president of the Diamond Head State Monument Foundation and as a member of this neighborhood board in the sub-district. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our fire department went for a call, which is thank them that they're there. Next, we have police department. Thank you for being there always for us when we dial 911. We've got District 6 on the line here, Waikiki, Kapi'olani Park, and Diamond Head. If there's no one in person there, then let's go to District 7, Diamond Head, Kapahulu, St. Louis Heights, East Honolulu. I see Lieutenant Nishimura.
Yes. Hi, good evening. Lieutenant Nishimura, I'm representing District 7. The following are the monthly statistics for March. Motor vehicle theft 10, burglary 5, theft 14, UEMV 9, with total calls for service 6,194. And that number is district-wide, not for this particular area only. But the statistics that I just shared, those were for the this particular area. I just also wanted to share that on March 27th and 28th, in conjunction with our state and city partners, we conducted a cleanup operation for the Diamond Head area. Hopefully that will mitigate some of the fire risks and issues that were previously mentioned in our meeting. Our safety tip for the month, I'd like to share public alert and warning systems. With public alert and warning systems, there are 5 types. There's H&L alert, official social media emergency alert system, wireless emergency alerts, and outdoor warning sirens. Of the 5, I'd just like to focus on one. It is the newest one. I think it came out online maybe a week or 2 ago, and that is H&L alert. That is an app that you can get for your phone, and via the H&L alert app, you can get information such as weather alerts, any type of emergency information for the island, road closures, ocean conditions, watering breaks, etc. And you can sign up for the HNL alert at hnlalert.gov, and you can also access more information on the city and county website. But that's our report for the month. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Nishimura. I see Ms. Matson has a question.
Thank you, Chair. Lieutenant Nishimura, thank you so much for your diligent service and dedication to our community, protecting us from so many, I guess, threats and incidents that we really appreciate your work on. I have a follow-up question regarding your recent cleanup. Did you work directly with the the Division of State Parks on this? Because we did see a horrendous amount of belongings, piles of bags and children's play carts and tricycles and so many things that you would never know would be taken up to the semi-wilderness slopes on Diamond Head. I really feel sorry for these children. But we did see a huge result from the latest cleanup, and I'd like to know if you were working directly with Division of State Parks, and also what the status is of the removal of the encampments per se. I know State Parks has specifically removed a very large encampment near Flanders Park, which this Diamond Head State Monument Foundation is now restoring to native landscaping. And we know it can be done, but how far is HPD progressing with state parks and working in conjunction with their new contract to abate the fires as the first course? Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate all your support. With regards to the first part of your question, yes, we were working directly with the state representatives. We also did have city and county representatives there as well. So they were both assisting in the cleanup in their respective areas of responsibility on Diamond Head. With regards to the current status, we're continually checking for the encampments. Unfortunately, we don't do a cleanup like this every day or even every week, but we try to schedule them as best as we can. Excuse me, with the resources available. Excuse me, so we can at least try and manage some of the issue. As you know, the encampments are a very difficult issue to solve with many different areas. With social, we have the police department, law enforcement response, the social worker and response as well. So we're doing our best on that. If the neighborhood board or anyone part of the board or community members, if you guys have more information or specific information with regards to a specific problem or in a specific area, then you can bring them up at this meeting and we'll try and see what we can look into, and we'll take a look at that. Also, if you need to speak to an officer, in between, you can always call 911 to request to have an officer to meet with you. We can go over the concerns and whatever information that you might have. And all of that is very, very helpful for us as we continue with these types of projects.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I do want to know, you mentioned state representatives. Are these political representatives or are they representatives of the Division of State Parks, which is actively addressing the situation?
I believe that there were political representatives that did attend and see, but we're directly working with the state and city officials that are involved in the respective departments and areas.
So you're working directly with State Parks Administrator Kirk Cottrell and Assistant Administrator Alan Carpenter?
I don't know the specific individual that we're working with, but I know that there were actual representatives of the agency.
All right, just as a last comment, we'll be very happy to share our information with you as we come across things in this specific area on the Malka slopes of Diamond Head Road. We do come across some very dangerous, I wouldn't say impersonal encounters, but encounters with syringes, dangerous buried items. But the main thing is State Parks is working to clear these campsites. And we hope that HPD will give them maximum support because as we mentioned during the fire department's report, this is a critical situation and could affect many communities. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we will do so. Thank you.
Are there any other
What-
questions for
When's-
Nishimura?
I have a question. This is Arlene.
Okay.
I walked along the beach at Diamond Head this weekend, and there's a tremendous amount of naked men and other unsavory activities going on the cliffs below Diamond Head. Is that your jurisdiction?
Yes, if you can give me a specific area, then we can have officers.
Yes,
look
you know,
into it.
right where the beach road is,
Yes.
right at the end of that road. And if you just
Okay.
walk 50 feet, and you'll encounter quite a scene.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there other questions for Lieutenant Nishimura? Okay. And Director Krucky put something also in the chat as well regarding what Board Member Mattson was talking about. Okay. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Nishimura, and have a safe rest of the month.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, I have that we have 2 vacancies. Is that still true, Curtis, or are we down to 1?
2 vacancies, correct.
Okay.
Sub-District 2.
Okay, are there any folks who came forward to you or who are present who would like to run for the Sub-District 2 Kapahulu, says East Alawai board position?
I received an email from Isis Usborne.
I think I saw ISIS on here. I see there's ISIS. Probably not a lot of ISISes out there in our neighborhood. So ISIS, are you wanting to join our board?
If nobody else had stepped forward, I'm prepared to. It's the monthly commitment, correct?
It is a monthly, well, let's call it an hourly commitment because things come up and you're the eyes and ears and representing your community. So yeah, but we do meet every second Thursday at 6.
Okay. Yeah, I sent in my proof of residency if there's anything else you need from me or if anybody has any questions.
Board Member Mattson?
Yes, I'd love to hear from Isis on her interests in the Kapahulu community, especially the single family residences and the zoning to protect the single families in Kapahulu. We've just read headlines about this. The news called it a magnificent high rise that's being built for mid-income families, condominiums, 80% to 140% of the average median income, the lowest being $70,000 a year for a single person. What are your views on that type of I guess, advancement into the Kapahulu community that would basically eradicate the single family lots that have been handed down through generations and allow our local families to continue living here on these single family lots. And it was previously proposed that 5- and 6-story multifamily buildings replace these residential lots in Kapahulu from Diamond Head to the freeway. What are your views on that?
Yeah, and maybe more in general, if you just want to introduce yourself and what other topics you have, interest in.
Sure thing. Thanks, Michelle, for the question, and thank you, Winston, and everybody for having me. So my name's Isis. I also go by Izzy. I use they, them pronouns. If you have questions about it, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to have a conversation about it. I'm a student at Richardson School of Law up at UH Manoa. I grew up on islands, mostly in central Oahu, newer to town as of maybe 3 or 4 years ago, went to school on the continent and then returned to Oahu around then. I am a resident of a small building, does have an elevator, but only 5 stories. But in terms of my views on housing, I am a strong supporter of our Representative Tina Grandinetti, who I had the pleasure of working with in Representative Caruso's office when I served there as a legislative aide. And before that, I was a committee clerk in that office. But definitely anything that she has said, I definitely support her views on housing 100%. In terms of the specific thing that you're talking about, I agree that keeping homes that people live in and that have been handed down to them is, of course, the utmost importance. Keeping the stock that we have is going to be the number one thing. Keeping people where they are is the number one thing that is going to work towards, obviously, keeping people housed and not having, the housing instability that we see way too often all across the state, but especially on Oahu, especially in town. I'm also an intake paralegal at Legal Aid Society, so I know firsthand how much that's an issue. So very passionate about, for sure, keeping the housing stock that we have. But of course, there is a very high need, as you were talking about the encampments earlier, folks don't have housing who need housing, and there's potential for services, and I'm going to talk about that later, actually, in this neighborhood board in terms of the kinds of supportive services that I personally would advocate for in trying
Mr.
to.
Welch.
Okay,
towards-
yeah, and I'm just seeing, Isis, a quote. Curtis says you're in Sub-District 3. You are not in Sub-District 2.
Oh, okay. My bad then.
So
Well,
we're
sorry
just
to
going to
take
have to have
space.
you join in regularly like you will and participate and maybe go on a committee. But with that, yes, we will be hearing from you later. And with that, I would like to move on then. If
Chair
there's any
Welch,
other
Chair
folks. Yes,
Welch,
ma'am.
point of order.
Uh-huh.
I really appreciated what Isis had to say. I think she'd be a very valuable board member. Whether or not her address is in Sub-District 2 or Sub-District 3, we do have vacancies in Sub-District 3 as a result of this election. And I encourage her to join if her legal address is in Sub-District 3 Diamond Head. Encourage her to apply for that vacancy once it comes up, I believe in July, when the new term begins.
Okay, well,
And I would really, really welcome her on the Planning and Zoning Committee.
okay. Well, if they decide to come then in July, we would welcome them on board. So thank you, Izzy, and thank you for the question, Board Member Mattson. So if there are no other folks out there who are in Sub-District 2, let's move on to the Board of Water Supply. Kathleen told me she will not be here tonight. I don't know if there is anybody else who's going to be taking her place. But she had to represent the mayor at I think the North Shore, roll around the island thing that he's got going on. Carol Hoshiko, Dean Hoshiko, are you here for an update? There you are. Aloha,
Yes.
Dean.
Hello, Chair. Hello, board members and honored guests of the Neighborhood Board 5 meeting. I'm Carol Hoshko, Dean of Community and Continuing Ed here at Kapi'olani Community College. I have 2 things I'd like to share with you this evening. One is an update about the Culinary Institute of Pacific, and the second is about workshop that we're going to be holding at the college this month. So I don't know if Curtis has the slides that he can show for the CIP.
Yes, I could bring that on. Continue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, you can continue with the verbal report. I just need a
Okay.
few.
Okay, so actually for the Culinary Institute, the Innovation Center is 99% complete. And actually, the keys were turned over to the college. So the facility is currently in use by the college. The auditorium interior is 99% complete, and the punch list is ongoing. I think that the college may be using it a little bit currently. The restaurant interior is 99% complete, as well as the kitchen. Site work is 95% complete. And however, with the restaurant, there is some out of contract user requested changes. So the restaurant is slated to be completed in fall of 2025. So the Innovation Center and the auditorium will be finished first. Curtis, you can go ahead and run through the following slides if you want to. So this is the aerial view of the campus. And as I said, the site work is 95% complete. Okay. At the top is the restaurant and auditorium. This is the view of the auditorium, and those brown areas will have plants for use in the kitchen put in them, as well as Native Hawaiian plants for use, as well as edible plants, as well as for medicinal purposes. Okay. This is a view looking toward Diamond Head at the restaurant auditorium building. Okay. And, another angle here at the two. So you can see we're moving well and forward. The restaurant on the left hand, auditorium on the right. This lower building is the auditorium building with the entrance on the left hand side. Okay, and you all have already been in the double building on the left. Those are the two labs. And then the single lab on the right-hand side is the innovation lab. And that's the one that, is 99% complete. And as I said, Kapi'olani Community College is currently using the facility. Okay, and I think that should be all of the photographs. Okay, the last thing I wanted to mention to you is on April the 23rd at 1 to 5 p.m., we have a workshop going on called Bridging Language Barriers, Interpreting for Your Community. We're bringing in a guest speaker from San Francisco who's going to talk about her journey from being a bilingual speaker to becoming the manager of an interpreting and translation center at the University of California, San Francisco. She's a graduate of UH Manoa. We're going to have several people there too, because actually Kapi'olani Community College has been offering interpreting classes for court, as well as fundamentals, as well as for health. And we will be developing a train the trainer, as well as a specialization for social workers. And then on the 24th, we're offering that same workshop in the morning from 9 until 1 o'clock. I put information in the chat, so if you're interested in coming, there's no charge for it. And you can go to this site and look at further information. That's it. Chair.
Thank you, Dean Hoshiko. Questions for our dean? I see Laura.
Yes, Laura.
You're on
Hi,
mute.
Carol.
Hi.
Am I okay now?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, Carol. I just wanted to follow up with the Culinary Institute. I know I asked some time ago when it was in development about more trees in the area. And have you folks, now that you can see the lay of the land and see the open grass areas and places that are not grass areas, have you seen opportunities to put more trees? I would hope so. Thank you.
I know that, the original landscaping that went in during phase one, it was, a lot of that, most of that, died. And then the agreement was that, that same landscaping is going to be, replanted. So all those beautiful plants will be put back in. I haven't been involved in the landscape discussions of late. So I don't know if any additional trees are going to be put in, during this phase two part of it. But I will ask again, if that is going to be the case.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Ms. Metzen?
Mahalo, Chair. Aloha, Carol. Nice to see you.
Aloha, Michelle.
I would welcome a report from you on a monthly basis relating to the Division of State Parks Adopt a Park Agreement partnership between KCC and the Diamond Head State Monument Foundation, which has been leading the semi-wilderness restoration project. You mentioned the nursery for restoration with native Hawaiian plants. Would that be Professor Mike Ross from Botany who's leading that, with whom we would be communicating for the native plants? And then we have also thought about a storyboard showing people at Flanders Park and educating them about the native plants that we're planning to plant there after all the clearing and the work has been done. Could you provide KCC's perspective on this?
Okay. Yes, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, our two student leaders through the Serene, as well as our other volunteer groups, service learning instructors, pulled together groups of volunteers, students who are from many different disciplines to work at the Flanders Park, mini park. And they have done a tremendous amount of work of clearing, carrying lots of things out of there. And, it's kind of scary, as Michelle had mentioned earlier, but they have nonetheless, gone ahead and forged ahead. And it's miraculous, the change already that is seen. I have spoken with the plant group here on the campus. There is a committee of which Mike Ross is, I think he's the chair of that group. I did meet with them, and I brought to their attention not only the work that we're currently doing, but also mentioned that, at the Culinary Institute, there are these 3 gardens that we have continued to bring, or tried to bring top of mind to the Culinary Institute, that those were to be 3 native Hawaiian plants gardens that would have garden for medicinal purposes, edible, and then for use. And he said that, they will keep that definitely in mind. It depends on how many students are available as to how many volunteers, they'll have. But, they definitely are making the seedlings available to parks so that we can get those planted at Diamond Head. But I'm not clear yet as to whether they're going to be the ones who do it for the CIP, or whether the CIP is going to have to try to work with another group of people. I will approach that conversation again.
Thank you, Dean. And we would also welcome an update on the Serene program in general if Miku Lenentine wants to come back sometime.
Oh, okay. I will mention that to her. And by the way, she's going to be offering a sustainability class, a 5-week class that's going to start a little later this month.
I saw that in an email that just came out today, I think.
Uh-huh.
It seemed to be, I didn't know if it was income restricted or not. It looked like it was only for people who qualify as low income, but I might have read that wrong. So maybe that, anyway, I'll read it again, but it looked like an
Oh, okay.
interesting
It's for people who want to use the Good Jobs Hawaii funding support. It is restricted in that way. But if people want to attend the class, and pay for it, they certainly are not restricted from taking the class.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. And if you would you put in the chat about the link to the taiko drums and the other courses that you had that was out in the email today?
Okay, I sure will. I'll
Okay.
get busy typing that, but I did put the workshop information in just now.
Okay, thank you. Are there any
Okay,
other
thank you.
questions for Dean Hoshiko? Seeing none, we can move on to our next order of business, which is already public community concerns, events, and announcements open forum. Are there folks in the audience who wish to speak about a specific topic? And if you would please state your name and so we can get it right on Olelo.
No one in the audience.
No one in the audience, okay. And are any folks online?
None.
Okay.
See none.
Okay, then we have 3 presentations tonight. So I see Laura's hand going up, but I will get you in 1 second, Laura, but just finishing that thought that one is going to be from the Mediation Center. I'm sure you guys get that one a lot. The Reimagining the Public Safety with Izzy, and also the Wahipana Public Art installation. So, perhaps folks can be as succinct as they can be, but, conveying the information they need to. And Laura, I think you had a comment, question, concern? And you're still on mute.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I just want to thank the Diamond Head board for passing the resolution on the full EIS regarding the canal project. And that also includes the Manoa, Mo'ili'ili, and Makiki neighborhood boards also. And we're calling it now the Lay of Community Neighborhoods. And the reason why I'm bringing it up right now is because I went to the Waikiki neighborhood board last night, virtually, or no, in person, and the other night anyway. And they did not seem to follow genuine good rules of conduct. And if you want to look at their video at the last maybe 15 minutes of their video when it comes out, you'll see what I mean. But it was very disappointing because you conduct your meetings so well, so adequately that it's a real pleasure to listen into what you folks are doing. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Laura, and thank you for keeping on that topic. It's always interesting to beam in on other neighborhood boards and see what they're doing. So that is a good area that they should really be aware of, since this is going to potentially impact them, good, bad, or otherwise. It makes sense for them to be fully informed. So I'll reach out to Chair Finley and suggest that they have a presentation. If there's no other public community concerns, then let's move straight on to
Winston, this is
Yep.
Arlene. There's one thing I just remembered I wanted to bring up
Sure.
very briefly. There's a large development scheduled to start. Well, it's already started at Turtle Bay on the North Shore. And there's quite a few North Shore residents that are protesting the development. And if people are interested, they can look it up on the internet and get involved. It's also the site where there's been very many monk seals born there, and the monk seals are still giving birth on those sites. And it looks, if you go there and you look at Keiki Beach, which is on the North Shore there at Turtle Bay, and several seals have been born there. It's about, 50 feet from where the developers have already put in a large fence. So it's quite disturbing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Arlene, for keeping us up to date on those things. Okay, then we have a presentation from the Meditation Center of the Pacific from Roberta Hickey Gomez, who is a special programs innovator on early eviction meditation and wanted to update us on what we need to know. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Perfect. So again, my name is Roberta Hickey Gomez. I'm from the Mediation Center of the Pacific. We are involved in helping empower people find solutions that are outside the court of law and letting people really own and take charge of what those decisions are and when they come to agreements. The particular program that I will be talking about here today is the Early Eviction Mediation Program. A little bit of, next slide, a little bit of history and background on it. It's coming out of Act 57. If anyone's familiar, Act 57 was involved with the COVID eviction moratorium. So as part of that, the state required all landlords who are going to go into eviction proceedings at that period were required to go into mediation sessions along with rental assistance. That program was quite successful for a period of time, but it ended, next slide, in August of 2022. The Mediation Center moved forward with continuing the program with private funds. We did not involve the rental assistance component, but we did continue to do mediations, and it was a slow build kind of success as we move forward, and we've learned a lot in the process. We've involved independent contract mediators, and we have a specific pool of mediators that are dedicated to this task. Next slide. What's beneficial about this program is that it's neutral to both landlords and tenants. It's not a program that benefits either one more specifically than the other. So benefits to landlords include time spent trying to collect rents is reduced. Typically, it's anywhere between 1 and 4 months, and that's usually around the time period that isn't for any rents that were due prior to that. It also helps landlords who are facing eviction proceedings that can be anywhere from $500 to $10,000. It's also helpful in being able to improve relationships between landlords and tenants so that conditions of the home are kept in good condition as they leave, as they move into new tenancies, et cetera. It's also just beneficial when agreements break down. If they do, they have something to prove to the courts that they've done everything in their power in good faith to work with tenants to be able to resolve the situation without having to go to court. Next slide. We also know it's beneficial to tenants. We know it helps with greater housing stability, whether that's being able to come up with a payment plan to stay in the home or that's coming out with a reasonable time frame for move out. We know that we live in a high cost of living state and city in particular, and those issues really come up when you're talking about switching from one home to another. So having those conversations and coming to reasonable agreements between the parties makes sense. Just having better ease of relationships between landlords and tenants is always important for housing and just living in community standards. It's also beneficial for tenants in the sense that evictions on record can affect their financial history, can affect their ability to rent another apartment, and it has catastrophic effects for tenants who are on Section 8 because they can be booted from Section 8 programs, which can further lead to and contribute to houselessness. So overall, the program is about providing community and housing stability. Next slide. The program has been growing just in this last quarter. We've grown to about 33%. We've grown about 20% throughout this fiscal year. That 33% that we're talking about is out of all landlord-tenant cases that are mediated. So the vast majority do come to us from the court, but we're slowly building and cutting into that percentage. When we talk about rate of agreements, it's anywhere between 92 and 93%. And what that tells us is when parties are willing to come to the table, we find a solution, we find an agreement that works for them. We've had a 60% increase in cases since Q1. Next slide. The way the program works is that it's predominantly on Zoom. So that means that landlords and tenants are able to find a time and place that works for them to be able to mediate from. They can mediate from the comfort of their own home. It's an hour-and-a-half session. If they're unable to access technology or they're not comfortable with it, they can come into our office and we have a space for them. We're also working with community partners to provide those spaces throughout the island in their communities, so it can be more helpful in that way. If there's a need for an interpreter, we provide that service. This program is completely free to both landlords and tenants. Either one can come to us at any point if they need our services. Next slide. And then along with scheduling, we can schedule within a 48-hour period because we are working on Zoom. It's really flexible for us to be able to schedule in those short period times. And typically cases can be resolved within 3 to 5 business day window. And when you compare that to the courts, that can be anywhere of between 4 and 6 months for an eviction proceeding. Next slide. We're also working on tools to pair with our program. So some of those tools that we've been developing are the eviction cost calculator. This is basically, it takes some of the ambiguous numbers of anywhere between 500 and 10,000 for landlords for an eviction, and it provides real concrete numbers and data based on their specific square footage, the amount of units they have, the cost that it takes for wear and tear, paint, change of locks, legal fees, etc. Next slide. And what it does is it calculates them in a real-time figure so they can see exactly how much this eviction would cost them to be able to try and resolve things outside of going through a long, lengthy, court-laden eviction process. Next slide. We're also working on the tenant side on tools. We've been partnering with Hawaiian Community Assets to provide a budget calculator. This budget calculator is attuned to the needs of the community. It's based on a local standard for budgeting. So it works with communities in what they're used to and their expenditures here. Next slide. And again, it comes up with real-time numbers that are helpful for them. This can be helpful in terms of being able to assess whether this is the right living situation for them based on their finances. And it also helps them assess whether they can enter into a payment plan and what is the feasibility of how much they can enter reasonably based around their finances. Next slide. We've also been working on legislation. So we've been moving forward to try and get early eviction legislation so that it requires a 10-day window for landlords to try and schedule early eviction mediation to try and move forward that process and really continue this continuum of communication so that there's better communication between landlords and tenants when problems first arise. Next slide. We're working on tenant Kakua hubs as well, and this is working with community partners like Family Promise, Hawaiian Community Assets, and going to places where people turn to in the community for services and training them on what is mediation a viable option for them, giving them the ability to help people intake with online intake forms, as well as provide spaces where they can mediate if they can't do that from the comfort of their home. Next slide. I have a QR code here. If anyone's interested, they can feel free to take this down, but also we're accessible at mediatehawaii.org. You click on contact, request a mediation. You can request early eviction mediation. As I said, the program's free. It's open to both landlords and tenants. And then next slide, that will take you to this form, which is basically all your information that you would need to input, your name, your address, email, phone number, contact information for both parties, what the issue may be, and just so that we can quickly assess the situation and try and triage and give you a solution. And I'm open to any questions if anyone has.
Thank you. Is there a
This is
question?
Arlene.
Go
I
ahead.
have a quick question. How are you funded?
Well, we receive private funds. We received funds from the Gumpert College of Trial Lawyers for this program, but we receive private funds as a nonprofit.
Is that from the government?
We have in the past received funds from the government. For this program in particular, we're not currently receiving government funds.
Okay.
Thank you. It's a great program.
Yeah, it sounds wildly successful, and glad to know that this resource exists for people. I see there's Keira put something in the chat, which is ce.uhcc.hawaii.edu. Is that how to contact you? Or is that something separate? Oh, that's the typo. I'm sorry. Okay, it's right there. Are there other questions for our presenter tonight from the Mediation Center of the Pacific, Roberta Hickey Gomez? Can you tell me, is this part of the Sparks Matsunaga Center?
This is not part of the Sparks Matsunaga Center, no.
Okay. And are your headquarters, I see you have outreach in Kalihi and Waikiki and other places, the libraries. Are you headquartered at UH then?
So we're not headquartered at UH. We're on 1301 Young Street, where we exist as a nonprofit in the community. And we're just doing outreach to all the neighborhood boards, associations, community organizations to try and get the word out on the program. And so that people are aware that we're here, we're offering these services, they're free and beneficial to the community.
I certainly are. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming tonight and letting us know about this.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I have one more question. This is Angie.
Oh, sorry, Angie. Go ahead.
No, I just thought of a question. So, are you part of the Aloha United Way 2-in-1 directory?
So we are in the Aloha United Way 2-in-1 directory, and we've been working closely with Aloha United Way, and we do offer frequent referrals to Aloha United Way. It's part of when people do reach out to us on the tenant side, we offer them resources. And the first one we offer is Aloha United Way's 2-in-1. We connect them to other resources in the community, legal aid, Hawaiian community assets. We try and give them a plethora of tools so that they can be empowered and successful in these mediations.
Okay, thank you.
And if there are no other questions, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and there is links to that in our Google Drive if folks want more information. Next up, we have Izzy, who's going to be talking about reimagining public safety, about the Reimagining Public Safety Coalition. So go ahead,
Hi
Izzy.
again, everyone. Am I able to share screen or do I need to email the slides that I
You
have?
can. You can.
Okay, thank you. Let me set that up. One moment, please. Okay, can everybody see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into it. Again, my name is Isis Osborne. I also go by Izzy. I'm gonna be calling on Emily Sarasa of ACLU to potentially help out towards the end of these slides. This is our website and our Instagram, Reimagining Public Safety Hawaii, and then the website's there. This is just a quick pic of us at our first in-person get-together. I do believe our numbers have grown since this image was taken. We are a coalition of community organizations and individuals committed to reimagining what public safety looks like in Hawaii. So in general, we try to focus on public health as our approach to safety. So a lot on the preventative side and trying to give solutions to this outside of potentially what is already there, or expanding the really good alternatives to incarceration and police and over-policing that we see as issues in our communities. So this is a bunch of us. You can take a look on our website to see more about each of the individual nonprofits and groups that are involved. So we kind of start here asking ourselves, why do we feel like these societal issues are worse than before? Are we just noticing them more? What exactly is contributing to this? And then really sitting with ourselves and thinking, what does public safety mean? What does it mean for me to feel safe in my community? And in general, what unites us, and I think this is, a very general statement that most people can agree with, that we all deserve to be safe regardless of where we live, what we look like, how much money we have, who we are. So this is just an image, as we all know them very well, of houseless encampments. This is kind of the first thing that folks think of when they hear the kinds of things that we're talking about in terms of increasing public safety and trying to provide supportive services for folks. There's a crisis, as you all know, as the governor has declared the housing crisis, and we know that there's also substance abuse and just mental health crises, various different distinct crises that are overlapping, along with in the wild times that we live in, a lot of economic struggle, not only here in Hawaii, but globally. As we know, cost of living has skyrocketed. We had the wage increase recently, but it's still not quite keeping up with the cost of what it takes to live here, as I'm sure you all know. And most of us know there's a shortage of mental health services, facilities for substance abuse, as well as shortage of housing. This is just some statistics. This is median income for Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander folks specifically. Minimum income needed for a family of 4. And 41% of households are below that threshold finance survival. So when we talk about ALICE families, this is, I believe, a broader category than that. But as you can see, times are tough. And of course, as we know, these are real people. So this is just an individual story about Donna that you can read there. That medical costs, all of these different things. So medical costs is kind of one of the big things that we see as potentially leading to housing instability as people have to make difficult decisions. where this overlaps with incarceration. So we heard from the officer earlier who was talking about the police's role in those what are referred to as sweeps, or I think I heard them referred to as cleanups earlier today. It's important to note that approximately 40% of those folks in Hawaii's jails are houseless. So we can see that it's a vicious cycle and there's a lot of overlap that we think in the coalition we can come at a bunch of different ways. Essentially, we think that this is about criminalization of poverty. So if we can do more to reduce poverty, we can reduce the folks who are incarcerated and the tax burden there, as well as the mental burden and just general burden on communities in general. Because we know that when folks are incarcerated, it's not just an effect on them, it's also an effect on their families, their loved ones who all have to deal, as well as, you know, their jobs who all have to deal with the fallout of them being in jails. During a crisis, we want to elevate the fact that people with disabilities are most at risk. So when we see those unfortunate stories of police using an over amount of force and potentially injuring people or other, you know, loss of life even, 50% of the times those victims are folks who are living with disabilities. We at the coalition would like 911 to not be the only option for folks who are having a mental health crisis or other crisis, because they have enough to do as it is. This is just kind of, yeah, driving home the point that if somebody's in crisis, including in an economic crisis where they don't have a home or they're dealing with other issues, but whatever the situation may be, and of course this applies to folks who are housed as well, it's more helpful to send a social worker, for example, as the officer referred to earlier, that they do have that help sometimes, which is good, and we want to see more of that. This is just more on that, the mismatch between community problems and how the government responds to them, and also just naming that in terms of the statistics and the demographic, Native Hawaiian, Micronesian, Pacific Islander communities are disproportionately negatively impacted by us criminalizing poverty. Policing, according to the statistics that we have gathered here, and you can take a look at our website for where we get all of our information. But in general, policing is just not really effective in reducing the violence. And, you know, of course, we want our communities to be safe, not only for us, also for the officers that also live in the community. So we just want to focus on prevention rather than a reactive stance. Increasing the police and jail budget does not reduce crime. This is a big myth that we hear a lot in the circles that we move in. Increasing the budget for police, for prisons, doesn't reduce crime. It just gives them more money to play with. And I will pass it to Emily, if Emily is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So what does it mean to reimagine public safety? For us, we included some of these like little caricatures to kind of explain. We don't think, like Isis said, that police should be responsible for dealing with all of these problems. They're not supposed to carry these social burdens for us. Izzy, next slide. Again, just shifting the burden off to other services, and we can do that financially by reallocating resources and reinvesting in preventative solutions. When, like we're saying, the problem seems worse now than it has ever before for many of us, but we're using the same techniques to address these issues. When we see people houseless on the street, many times it's because of trauma that they are using substances. A lot of our veterans have PTSD that is not being treated. Veterans have some of the highest rates of houselessness, and I think if we take a compassionate approach and a more effective approach, we can better deal with these issues. Next slide. So again, investing more in police and jails isn't going to solve what is a public health, housing, and poverty crisis. Positive investments in housing, education, drug treatment, services, healthcare, and living wages are the solutions we need. Next slide. So in our ideal world, like I said, we invest in root causes of crime and poverty. 911, when you call, instead of deploying police every time, would reserve police for extremely violent calls and deploy public health professionals that can ensure that everyone gets the actual services and treatment that they need. And again, police focus strictly on serious and violent crime. So, and this was a community workshop that we had last summer, and this coalition is comprised, I think we probably have like 15 different groups and I think like 50 plus members of people who are actively contributing at any given time. So like we know what we need to make our community safe and healthy. So these are some proven approaches to reduce violence, poverty, drug use, and divert people from the criminal legal system. And that is investment in permanent supported housing, healthcare, jobs programs, education, after school programs. So investing in KP is keeping people, especially young men, are like they have the highest rate of committing offenses. So why are we not investing in school programs to keep people occupied and give them opportunity? Also, gun control. Better environmental design, like public parks and public spaces. There's research that shows that creating spaces for people to enjoy leisure keeps people from committing crimes. Also, violence interruption programs. It's pretty surprising that we don't have these types of programs in our schools. Instead, we are sending more police out to deal with some of the, I know like reporting last year violence on the west side, the response has been to send more police, but there are other options. As well as restorative and transformative justice. That is the next slide. So what we'd like to do is reduce the scale of policing and advance alternative responses, drive investment into the root causes of poverty, decriminalize poverty and public health issues, decriminalize youth and drive investment into youth development and well-being, and establish strong civilian oversight of the police. So this is like our ideal. So we'd have mobile crisis responder service operating 24 hours a day on all islands. And you can look at the Cahoots model in Eugene, Oregon, and there's models operating in, newer models operating in some parts of California. The arrest rate for then house drops by 50%. We have drug and detox centers available on every island. And anyone who needs treatment has access to it. We also have and mental health care facilities. Traffic enforcement is handled by unarmed staff, DOT staff, and all jobs are living wage. And we use restorative justice rather than punitive policing and carceral system to respond to issues in the community. So people ask like, well, what is this going to cost? And the truth is that it costs $307 a day to incarcerate one person in Hawaii in our jails. That was from our own director of the Department of Corrections. So it's $112,000 a year. But if we were to provide supportive housing for one person, that would only be $30,000. So supportive housing is, it's housing, but it also has like mental health care support, substance abuse treatment if necessary. So you can see the difference right there. So why are we cyclically criminalizing people and spending this absurd amount when we know that it's ineffective? And we know that because the recidivism rate drops dramatically. Without supportive housing, the recidivism rate is about 50%. So people are more likely to recommit a crime when they come out of the jail and they don't have a place to go. Sometimes the crime they're arrested again for, cited for, and then arrested because they miss support is just from sleeping in the park. So with supportive housing, the recidivism rate drops dramatically, as you can see. Next slide. So a part of what our coalition has done this year is create budget recommendations, and that's this document, which you can find on our website. It's bit.ly/Hawaii Safety Coalition, HI Safety Coalition. And it just talks about all of these measures and shifting resources away from what we see as ineffective and we know is ineffective. Slide. And we also have this petition because currently the state is trying to build a $1 billion jail to replace OCCC. This would be funded through a public-private partnership, which means it will be a loan. The state will have to pay back a private company for building this jail. And it cites the state of OCCC and overcrowding at OCCC as reasons why it needs to build this jail. But we know that like 60% of people at OCCC are being held pre-trial. 40% of people are houseless. So if we really fix the bail system and implement reforms and stop this constant inflow of people into the jails, then we don't need a super jail, $1 billion super jail. We can invest a fraction of that money into fixing what exists already, and then use the rest of the $1 billion or even a fraction of that in youth programs and permanent supportive housing, which would staunch the flow of people into jails. So you can feel free to scan that QR code if you have your phone, or you can go to that bit.ly website. That one is case sensitive, so you do have to type in the capital N's and the capital CCC. Slide, Izzy. Yeah, this is one of the stickers we hand out when we're tabling, and people really love it. It just talks about like community abundance and really rethinking like this punitive scarcity mindset we have, where we feel like we need to punish people who are really just asking for help. Next slide. Here's just some information about our coalition. You can follow us on Instagram. You can go on our website, email us. You can contact Izzy or I after this presentation if you'd like to join. Community members are welcome to join. And I think our ask for you as a board is just to rethink public safety, reimagine it with us, and look at asks from community members and asks from agencies critically, think critically about what we are supporting and funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. And Izzy, are there questions for our presenters tonight? You have a big mandate.
Hi, this is Angie. I do have one question. On one of your slides, I just want to make sure, actually, I want to ask because I don't really understand what the stat was. You said in 2019, like HPD cleared 7% of all crimes, and I'm not sure what that means. So I just wanted some clarification on that statistic. Sorry, it was one of the call out things on a slide. Izzy? Yes, that one. What does that mean?
Yes, I was finding it. Emily, feel free to correct me. My understanding is that to clear a crime, they need to fully resolve it. So get to the end of who is the perpetrator, who is the victim, was everyone made whole? Do they understand what happened in the case being closed? But I'm happy to look more into that to verify myself, to make sure I'm giving you the correct information.
Yeah, I think like filed charges would be part of that as well. And this is not like a violent crime necessarily, it's like a property crime. And that's what many of these crimes are, property crimes. Like how many times has somebody had their moped stolen and nothing ever becomes resolved from that. So clearance rates are particularly low, yes.
This is Arlene. I have a quick question. Have you been working with our state legislatures on these many issues?
Yes, so we do work with legislators, but people have different opinions about this, and different constituencies have different demands. So it's also about education. Sometimes we're talking to legislators and they say, well, that's not what my neighborhood board wants. They come to these meetings and what they hear is, no, we need to cite and arrest people for sleeping in the parks more, which is, again, it's cyclical, it's not working. So part of what we need to do is not actually work with the legislators, but work with constituents and do outreach and education about these issues. But we do lobby. We show up at the Capitol. We got the budget bill. There was a $30 million allocation for more prison planning in the budget bill, and it was reduced down to 15 million, which is a slight success for us. But we would like to get it down to 0 and just have a moratorium on jail planning for now while we figure out whether we really need this giant budget, especially considering all the federal budget cuts that are coming down. Why would we've already allocated $25 million in funding, and there's a beautiful design for this massive jail that the community doesn't necessarily want. And part of that money was spent on PR for developing the jail and getting the community to accept it. So we actually hired a PR firm with that last 25 million, or some of the $25 million, to create a website and a pretty video where you can watch the Department of Corrections encourage people to support the jail.
I just have another comment. I know that other cities around the world have, and municipalities have done similar things. They've invested more in social work instead of social workers instead of police force. and then they have teams that go together. There's very creative things other cities around the world have done, and even on the mainland in the United States. Are you working closely with any other cities that are implementing some of these ideas?
Our coalition facilitator, Liam, he's actually on paternity leave right now. He has two twin babies, but he came from LA where he was working with a group there that was doing like similar projects. And we look at them for models. We're a pretty new coalition, so I think as we keep going and we're looking at like doing positive funding bills, we might need to reach out to them more so. But some of the models for alternative crisis response, for example, we're looking at those models, but the cities aren't necessarily fully investing also in permanent supportive housing. So it's wonderful, yes, to have a psychologist go talk to someone who's in crisis, but unless we can move that person off of the streets, then it's still a cycle. We really need like full investment in these problems and full attention to them. Street psychology is great, and there's a few bills on street psychology right now, or street psychiatry psychology. But again, if somebody has schizophrenia and they're sleeping on the street, that's so stressful. Of course, that's going to trigger a manic episode. So how do we break that cycle? We give people housing that desperately need it, people who cannot work in their current state. And then we make housing more affordable, because if you talk to some houseless people who are sleeping in their car, and at Magic Island, for example, they have jobs. They sleep in their car and they go to work and they come back. And then if they get arrested for trespass, well, usually you don't get arrested for trespass, you get cited. But if you miss your court date and you get picked up by the police on a bench warrant, then you're out of a job. So again, like we need to help people who are trying and give people a hand up rather.
And Noella?
Oh, hi, good evening. Thank you, ladies, for such a nice, beautiful, very Pono presentation. It's nice to know that your generation truly sees what we've been watching for years. So thank you very much for that, compiling it, putting numbers there, understanding this is not going away unless, we as a community do it, right? A family member of mine did this 20 years ago with the San Jose Police Department, who understood the problems of mental illness, addiction, etc., so on and so forth. And she was able to bring herself out of the mire and muck and help out with that. She has passed on since, but this issue is not just, it didn't start yesterday. So with that said, what I would suggest within your parameters of your presentations that you speak to Chief Joe Logan about this wonderful program that can work, because it did in San Jose. My sister was a part of it. I would ask that you reach out to the Sheriff's Department. Really stay tight with the legislature. Everybody in this room, I'm pretty much agreeing. I think, we agree with you. These are the problems. I live in an area where the homeless are all around me 24/7. And it's challenging because, I understand they have, issues that I could never know, right? So thank you. And I just would encourage you to, present yourself to the Sheriff's Department, to Chief Joe Logan at HPD, to the fire department, put it out there. And that's what I have to say. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Noella. And Ms. Metzen?
Thank you, Chair Welch. First of all, I would really like to commend both presenters on their excellent and enlightening and progressive presentation. This is one of the most comprehensive presentations with so many facets that we all need to pay attention to. And Arlene, I appreciate your question regarding other examples throughout the United States. Successful examples, we definitely need to pay attention to those things. this title for the presentation was a little confusing because it's entitled Reimagining Public Safety Coalition. Well, at the top of our minds in our sub-districts and our joint traffic and public safety, planning and zoning and environmental committee meeting for which we have the minutes posted, this appeared to be more of a pedestrian traffic safety issue, but it is not. And of course, we're focusing on Diamond Head Road right now as a lethal artery. But now, hearing this presentation, this is all highly important information, and we encourage you to come back to the board and communicate also with our mayor's representative, Anton Crocky, who heads the homeless division. And we all need to work together on these things to enable people who really want to try to get out of this predicament. The ironic thing is this so-called affordable housing development of 400 feet, the Kobayashi development called Kuale Place, is on last night's HNN news, it was termed as a gleaming high-rise. This does not constitute enabling our lower income families from getting a foot forward. The report, interestingly enough, was there was only one family out of the affordable housing that was already in that entire acreage. Only one family was able to get into this high-rise complex with all these amenities. And I mentioned before, the income ratio is 40% of the average income of the entire area, which is outrageous. So let's work together. My question is, what happened to all the hundreds of other families that were displaced by this development? Where did they go? Are they on the streets? Are they safe? Are they well taken care of? We need to know, because this is our community, and we cannot have these developers coming in with these false promises just to make a buck. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Are there any other questions for our presenters in person?
Yes, this is Laura. I really like the term that you used, restorative justice. I'm wondering if there's an element in your program that works with people in jails to give them training and education so that they can make a living once they're back out in society.
So we have Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice, who is a coalition member. Restorative justice can be done ahead of involving the criminal justice system, which would be our ideal. Currently, HRJ works with people who are already involved in the criminal legal system. And that would be for people leaving the criminal legal system, that would be ideal, is for people to get workforce training. There is a group that is doing that work. We've invited them to come to meetings. They haven't shown up yet, but it's super under-resourced, right? This is a person who has to apply for grants. And I'm imagining, what if those are federally funded and are no longer accessible anymore? We should reach out again, though. And so thank you for raising that. And there's some halfway houses. I actually went to a parolee celebration with Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice, and they were recognizing this father and son who have a furniture store, but also run a halfway house, and they employ people who are coming out of prison to deliver furniture and re-enter the community with a job, which is important. So thank you for raising that. And also, Michelle, thank you for raising that topic about housing and economic issues as well. I think that's something that the coalition has talked about doing, but we're pretty new, but getting those topics in our agendas is important.
I did, if there's no more questions
Oh,
there,
I have one more, sorry.
go ahead.
Hi, this is Angie again. I was curious how the coalition's been interacting or engaging with the community outreach court. I know when you were talking about the citations for people in camps around Sand Island, and about the warrants and everything, and I knew that was part of the reason why they had done the community outreach court to kind of deal with some of those infractions that do lead to incarceration. So I was just curious.
I actually don't think we work with them. And my job with the ACLU, we do talk to them because we've hosted expungement clinics out in the community. We had one on the west side, and we had another one in Waimanalo, and we'll probably have one over the summer again. And the judiciary actually shows up and they expunge people's records and also recall bench warrants. So that's really important. But we are mostly focused on, with the coalition, on more systemic change, not really individuals. So community outreach court is really wonderful, but we're more focused on not citing people in the first place, and creating these like administrative hurdles for them to go through. Like if you're a person who's houseless, you probably don't have a cell phone, or if you do, like it's not regularly charged and might get stolen. So I think we can involve the community outreach court, but we are looking more towards legislators to create policy change.
Thank you,
Okay.
Emily.
Thank you.
I did have I wanted to echo, it's great to see young people involved in this because you're kind of inheriting a mess that we've all collectively created for the last probably 45 years. I hope that you are working closely with the city and the state, and this especially you have like a subject matter expert here in Anton Krucky, and that if you're not working together now, please go by and pay him a visit because he's a wealth of information and a tremendous fellow and resource for the community. We really appreciate what you are doing here, and we look forward to hearing your progress over time. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you so much for your time.
So just a time check, it's 22 minutes after 7. So we have a number of things on our agenda, but we have a follow-up from the Vahipana Public Art Installation. This is from Catherine Orlands from the Oahu Visitor Convention Bureau. Well, it was Oahu Visitors Bureau, but I remembered it, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, representing MOCA, the Mayor's Office on Culture and the Arts. And this is about Kapiolani Park. Catherine, are you here today?
Aloha, everyone. My name is actually Marian Kadora, and Catherine was not able to join us today.
Okay.
So I'm here representing MOCA and the Vahipana project. And then also one of our, my colleague and project partner, Donnie Cervantes, is also joined us on Zoom. And so I'll just get into it. This is a follow-up, so I won't go into too much detail about the project as a whole, but happy to answer any questions. So Vahipana is a project that is funded through the Bloomberg Philanthropies, a grant, $1 million grant that the city and county, along with numerous of our project partners, Aupuni Space, Pu'uhonu Society and Aupuni Space, Oahu Visitors Bureau, numerous city and county departments, together created this program that we're launching in different phases. And the main idea of this project is to create outlets through contemporary art and Hawaiian artists connecting with historians and storytellers to create installations of various kinds of installations and media that create connection to stories and histories of places to allow people to understand where they are in frequented places that they often don't know the histories of. So if you just go to the next slide, this is just a map of like the various installations. You can go to the next slide. So it encompasses many places around Oahu. These are our artists, and if you go to Vahipana, our website, vahipana.org, you can access this information. You can go to the next slide. And we just launched phase 1. We did come to this board to present our project that is around Leahi. But this is another project by Carl Powell that's in Fort Street Mall, along with Imai Kalani Kalehele, that is situated in the mall, throughout the mall, poetry, and also a tile mural. Next slide. This is another project at Fort DeRussy. Next slide. And then this is the project that we had presented on in that last phase. If anyone does have any follow-up questions about that, happy to answer. And then the next slide, please. And the next slide. So we're going to be just introducing this project. And I'm going to hand it over to Donnie Cervantes, who is hopefully still on the Zoom. Are you there, Donnie?
I am. Aloha.
Okay.
Aloha kako. My name is Donnie Cervantes. I'm a curator and director at Apuni Space, a contemporary art gallery and community space in Kaka'ako. It is a program of Pu'uhunua Society. Mahalo chair and board members for your time tonight. I will describe the artist Koloi Ke'au Anthony's project, which we are aiming to install in the former, I believe it's the former archery range, or the corner of Kapi'olani Park. Koloi Ke'au's project aims to recenter viewers' sense and awareness of the Papa'ena'ena He'au by utilizing derelict, unused sign poles scattered throughout the park. Signs of various shapes and sizes will feature graphics by the artist depicting references to Ki'i, the stand and watch, and advise visitors of the sacredness of the area. The project seeks to reimagine the presence of ku in a way that challenges the commonplace, plastic tiki iconography often seen today. Koloi Ke'au's artwork envisions ku as if he were present in our contemporary world, infusing the space with renewed and authentic sense of his spirit and significance. Kapi'olani Park, situated below the Papa'ena'ena He'au, was dedicated and named by King Kalakaua in honor of his wife, Queen Kapi'olani. It was the first public park in the Hawaiian Islands, and the park was dedicated as a place of innocent refreshments for all who wished to leave the dust town of the street. As I'm sure many of you enjoy the park yourselves and would seem to live close to it. Marion and I are happy to answer any questions you might have about this specific installation, which is phase 2 of 3 of our program.
And just to add to that, this next phase of the program will open at the end of May, including the Kapi'olani Park project. So we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
And can you stop? Oh, yeah, if Curtis, you can stop sharing the screen. It's hard to see who might have a question there. Thank you for coming tonight. We have a question from Ms. Matson.
Thank you so much for your presentation. There is a lot to inquire about. It seems very sparse. Kapi'olani Park, yes, was dedicated in the name of his queen consort, Kapi'olani. But before that, I don't know if you're aware that Papa'ena'ena He'au was a surfing heiau. And the priests raised the flag for the warriors, the Ali'i warriors practicing on the plain below, which is where you're planning to site your signs. They practiced to defend Oahu. And when surf was up, the priests raised the flag and they all went out to surf. The workers in the lo'i were not allowed to surf, but the ali'i were. And At that time, Papa Ina Heao was not a sacrificial Heao, but when Kamehameha landed in two flanks, one on each side of Diamond Head, and he drove the Oahu warriors up to the Pali, where many of them perished, falling off the cliffs. He established Papa Ina as a sacrificial heiau to kill off a lot of the Ali'i and Hawaiian warriors on Oahu, which is a travesty. I don't know what your signs depict of the area, but people need to understand this history and the Hawaiian culture that abounds around Leahi, with 5 heiau. The top heiau near the summit was where the heiau was it was a navigation heiau to protect the island. Many of these facts are in the history of Diamond Head and Kapiolani Park, which is why King Kalakaua established Kapiolani Park as a park for the people in perpetuity. And upon that, the U.S. Army came in and set up encampments in Kapiolani Park. However, there was a trust established by William G. Irwin after the overthrow to protect Kapiolani Park as a park in perpetuity. And the Army, U.S. Army, was kicked out of Kapiolani Park because of the trust, and that's how Fort Ruger was established on Diamond Head, where the Army went instead. So if you have any motivation to share this deep history with whatever signs you intend to post, please let us know. We would love to contribute to that.
Mahalo, Ms. Matson. That was wonderful. Mahalo for that, Ike. And it would actually be wonderful if I would love to hear more from you and perhaps have you in conversation with our researcher Kawila Mahi, who would love to talk to you about all of that. And that is an idea. We do want these projects to be a reason to convene and talk about histories of the area. So what you're sharing is very important to us and very poignant at this meeting, and I really appreciate and mahalo you.
Oh, thank you for your respect. Yes, I have a deep family history here with all that integrated, but I do want to know what sort of, we've heard about these signs in Makale Beach Park and Leahi Beach Park, which are also small historic parks. And we're very concerned about traffic and what types of traffic these would attract. Are these moped attractants or are these pedestrian, recreational, residents and those who come to enjoy the Diamond Head Scenic Byway and all that its history as well? What are these signs and how glaring will they be and who will they attract? What type of traffic? Are they commercialized? Are they totally poignant, cultural, educational symbols of what people need to learn about? Thank you.
Thank you. I would say the latter is where we are rooted. The four pieces that have been installed at Makale, at Leahi, and at Triangle Park are poetry by the state poet laureate Randy Nalani McDougall, which is what I'm sure I wasn't able to attend the last meeting, but what Marion and Kat most likely presented to you. So this phase, I don't, we are using signposts and we did kind of present to the park this group of 12 unused poles that used to have signs. We're not sure exactly what they were for, and neither is the parks guys exactly, but they will be artworks. So I don't refer to them as signs. They will be depictions of Ku in the form of, so I guess we can say in the form of a sign. But and to your question about attracting audiences, we learned about and learned firsthand how many people do visit Makale Beach Park on an afternoon when we were doing our installs and photos, and so I do understand your concern there. They didn't have too much interest in the artworks. I think it's more for in trying to ring around Le'ahi. There are so many people, locals, who exercise in that area and walk and run around Le'ahi, and that was one of the people that the population that I wanted to kind of install these for, as well as visitors. But yeah, it is a kind of a pedestrian friendly installation or track, or both installations.
Okay, thank you. And
Mahalo.
are there other questions for presenters?
Yes.
Go
I
ahead.
just had a clarification question. When you said phase 2 opens in May, does that mean that it will have been installed or it will be being installed in May?
It will be installed at starting mid to end May. So our opening program for this will be May 25th, Memorial Day weekend. It will be a morning event, most likely. It will make sure that that this neighborhood board is aware of that event. We don't, it will be a public event, but we don't anticipate that it will gather, thousands of people. So I don't anticipate that it would cause any problems in terms of parking or anything.
Thank you.
I just want to comment. I'm one of the runners and walkers who frequent the Diamond Head Circle area. The signs are they're very pleasant. They're very they don't stand out. They're not like a crowd pleaser. They're more of like you see it, you go, oh, what's that? And you read it. So I think they're nice. Thank you.
Yes, and so this project at Kapiolani Park will be it's a different artist, it's a different project, a very different design. But we hope that it continues to draw that curiosity. While also, I think it will enhance the visual elements of the park as well, because right now there's just these sort of random empty poles. So we do hope that it is an enhancement in the park.
I think that some of those poles were probably holding the targets from the archery range, which were landing in the tennis courts, which is why we took away the archery range. Are there QR codes that are on that will be there as well? And I'm curious as to, I know this is an art project, but it's sort of an art and history at the same time. Do you have docents that are going to be available on Saturday mornings or something from the university or from, Hawaiian Studies or some other groups in society to explain about in more detail of the areas that you've got, and how long will the installations run for?
So, you go ahead, Donnie. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we actually met with our cultural advisory on Tuesday night and talking about community activation, and Pu'uhunu Society actually is going to organize a docent program for the different sites to do exactly what you mentioned, Mr. Chairperson. So to kind of do guided walks of the different pieces, and as we add more on, that will kind of continue around Oahu, and they will. So in February of this year, we started a kind of 3-year clock, and so they will be installed until at least February 2028.
And then just to answer the QR code question, yes, there will be a QR code that goes to the Bloomberg Connects app. And that's a space to continue to go to because we're kind of actively developing that content and will continue to be developing that content that will have both text, contextual information, about the artworks from the storytellers and researchers that we're working with, as well as videos and some audio as well. So continue to visit our website and you'll see that kind of actively being built.
I had one further question. Did you work with the Kapilani Park Preservation Society on this as well?
No, we did not.
Okay.
But we should.
Mr. Chair, I have a follow-up question on that.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. And Ms. Mattson?
Yes, my question is, it's not the Kapilani Park Preservation Society. It is the Kapilani Park Trust that was established in 1896. And the city council was appointed by the court as the trustees of the Kapilani Park Trust because they are elected and they are not permanent trustees. And everything to do with Kapilani Park needs to go before the trustees. They have annual trustees meetings, meetings for triennial expense approvals, but this is a special this should be a special meeting for Kapilani Park to present this to the trustees. And there is testimony that can be submitted in favor or with questions, or whoever in the public needs to testify on this issue. Personally, needing to know a little bit more about the application within this historic site, which is registered on the historic register listed on the Register of Historic Places. We would probably favor this, many of us, but there's still questions that I believe the trustees may want to bring forth. So have you presented to the trustees regarding this historic site?
We have not, but we can do that as soon as possible, and also present a much more thorough presentation. Along with Kawila Mahi, who can, and Keao, who can present more historical presentation, which I think that based on what you had presented, Mrs. Mattson, I think that you would be in line with their historical research and positioning that they're presenting on this project. So yeah, it would be good to connect with you and then present to the trust as soon as possible. So thank you for mentioning that.
That would be most welcome, and we would certainly look forward to that, many of us and many of our organizations, to be able to support something that enhances and highlights the true history of this historic site. Thank you.
Yeah. Please let us know when the ceremony will be.
Okay, we will. We definitely will. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And
tonight.
one last thing, Ms. Mattson, I put
point
my
of
email
order.
address in the, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Just saying, I put my email in the chat for your or anyone's use or further questions or concerns. So mahalo
Thank
very
you
much,
so
all of
much.
you.
And thank you. I highly respect your comments. However, before such ceremonial event takes place, it would seem that the proper procedure should precede that with the trustees and with the public comment. And of course, the Kapilani Park Preservation Society has been more of a internal interest over the years, but there are many wider historical interests that would probably lend to this conversation. And the trustees would be the best opportunity for that. And before you have your event, it would seem that the trustees would need to be consulted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll be in touch as soon as possible. Thank you. And definitely we'll proceed the opening. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have our City and County of Honolulu reports, and we have a lot to go through here. Again, it's about quarter of. Director Krucke has a lot on his agenda, so maybe we can hold any questions until he's able to give us a thorough debriefing on what he's got. So thank you, as always, Director Krucke, for coming and your excellent public service.
Thank you, Chair Wells. I thank you for your comments to the Reimagining Public Safety Coalition. I'd be glad to work with them. There is a lot missing in that presentation. I feel a little slighted when they didn't mention that CORE was invented here in Honolulu, because I was the inventor of it as a non-police response. But that's just the beginning. I think you also have, with Angie on your board, we just opened a center at the Evil Center, which really is designed with neuroscience and architecture to peel away the trauma that someone has developed while being homeless. So touches many things. So Angie is also an expert on that with the IHS. The mayor's newsletter, as always, comes out once a month. Some of the key items that I would point out in that is that the Neil Blaisdell Center, the concert hall is reopened after the back of the house renovations, which allows us to bring other new kind of productions to Honolulu. The summer fun program, they're hiring staff for that. So if you have friends, relatives, students coming home for the summer that want to be part of the summer fun program, please apply there. I think one of the other things is that the Charter Commission was sworn in for the review of the city charter, and that's in the newsletter. And also town halls. So there's 7 town halls this year. I'm not at the one at North Shore today because I'm with you. I was there last week, but a key one coming up would be on June 5th at 7 p.m. at Kalani High School. So that would be the closest one to us. So June 5th at Kalani High School. And of course, you can look up all the other information on the mayor's newsletter. In trying to summarize some of the questions we had, there were a lot of questions about the Alawai Golf Course entrance and homeless, and also Diamond Head and below Diamond Head. And I would tell you, I've taken all those things careful. I mean, we have our different organizations that work on those. The parks really isn't the group on the road right before Alawai Golf Course anymore. They were using them to because they had rules. But all of those subjects, and especially the issues that we talked about, not just the homeless issues on Diamond Head, but the fire issues related, have all been discussed at the mayor's level at the homeless meetings that we have once a week. And there are things in place. You have some coordinated enforcements coming up, which can help, but we're kind of trying to change that and make sure that that we have other places that we can offer people. But that's a pretty resistant group there. But we need to change the narrative so it's not just the usual what we do. So believe me, we're working on all those things diligently, and we're very aware of those. The mayor has a weekly meeting on homeless. I chair it. And he's there and he goes through each person for announcements, and we cover different subjects everywhere from diversion to enforcements to methods, scientific methods that we can do to help people that are homeless. The whole gamut, public safety, all of those things. So, if there's a time that somebody really wanted to attend one of those meetings, if they contact me, I could take you as a guest and you could observe how we work, because it's not any secret sessions or anything like that. There was a question about the Alawai Community Garden wait list, and the wait list for the garden is 53 people, and a new wait list procedure has been adopted that will be more streamlined compared to the previous in-person system. Right now, Parks and Rec does have plans to open a new community gardens. An analysis of parkland is currently underway to identify suitable locations. DPR aims to have the results of that analysis by the end of this summer, 2025. The collapsed sidewalk repair at Queens Beach, DDC is working with Parks and Recs on the design and what to do there. So that is on their list to work on. They don't have an announcement at this time about their plans. One of the favorites that I seem to talk about every week is the Kaimana Beach shower status. And I appreciate the many of the issues there. I've gone and walked around it and stepped in it myself. The shower now is a metered system. It sometimes gets stuck if it's pushed too many times on the on position. So I think people are pushing that a lot and it gets stuck. DPR staff does check it on numerous times throughout the day. So more than once a day to make sure the water is turning off. The drain is cleaned once per week, and the staff will continue to monitor the showers. But at this time, there are no other repairs scheduled than that monitoring. Speeding concerns at the intersection of Kapahulu Avenue and Wailai Avenue. It turns out that really is under the jurisdiction of the state of Hawaii. So we can pass that along to Director Sniffen about your concerns there. The refuge bin, the 6th grade trash bins are requested for the Diamond Head Community Gardens, and DPR did not submit a request for residential bins for the Diamond Head Community Park property. In the current rules, 1984, community gardeners are required to dispose of their own trash. This rule is made clearer in the upcoming proposed rules. Each gardener shall remove personal trash from the plot and dispose of all trash outside the garden. The Diamond Head Community Garden is managed by Parks and Recs, and if you need further information, you can contact them. And I would also say I have a special task force meeting on that plot of land. I've called it myself on that triangle land that's on Kapahulu by Rainbow Drive and see maybe something architecturally we could do that would kind of address some of the issues there. I don't know if anybody's driven by Waimanalo, but we were able to end that encampment that's been along that road for over 20 years. And right now you'll see that there's a fence there and native Hawaiian plants were planted and they're taking foot, and that area is clean, and it hasn't been that way. So it's like we've given that park back to the community. So we'll continue to work diligently in this area as well. And that concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you, Director Cookie. Yes, questions for the director?
This is Arlene. Hi, Anton. Appreciate you being here. I have actually talked to two of the maintenance and people who maintain the cleanliness of the showers at Kaimana Beach. And they were complaining about how much water they have to use to constantly keep the algae from forming on the bottom of the cement. And they say it's very slippery. They've seen people almost slip, and they're pretty upset about the design. And that's why I asked Winston to put it back into the agenda, because these maintenance people who are the ones that are going there frequently are complaining about the design and how it constantly clogs up. The drain was supposed to be a permeable kind of cement structure, but it's not. It just doesn't drain properly. So I really do think that should be looked at. I think it is a safety hazard. Someone's going to slip on that algae.
I'll talk to Gina Albano myself on that. Thank you, Angie.
Okay, and Noella?
Oh, hi, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Crucky, for coming to the meeting, as if you didn't have enough problems on the list. So here's another one, and I think a lot of people will agree with me. Coming off the Kapiolani off-ramp going towards Long Strugs and Mo'ili, that whole little curve of road up in front of the Hawaiian Humane Society, and then that funky intersection kind of situation there, that whole road needs to be repaved. It's filled with potholes. It's the bumpy ride. So if you could check into that, I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I ride that every day. I agree with you completely. I've actually put in my 2 cents on that. I'll do it again. Thank you, Noella. I agree.
And Director, I did have a follow-up question. You mentioned about the trash bins at the community gardens. Right now, You know, there's the people are just using like I don't even want to call them bruiser bins, but you know that people are having to lift up, and I don't know who actually takes the trash. Arlene would probably have a better handle on that one, but the reason why we've wanted trash bins there is for safety for the folks that are actually picking up the trash, just so they can use the the electric vehicles that pick it up. Maybe that's a policy that we could look at island wide to allow for trash to be there, because the other thing is that is a public access to the beach from, you know, it goes right out of Pool A Circle, and people bring their trash there. So it's not just the gardeners that may be creating the trash. All the green waste is kept on site, almost all of it, and composted, as well as neighbors do bring their compost there. But maybe that's a policy that the city should look at just for whoever's picking up the trash. I don't know. I don't think we pay for that, but maybe we do. And Arlene, maybe you could clarify that. But it just seems like a safety issue, if nothing else, for that. And the other comment I wanted to ask is that for Mocha, you know, it's like Ms. Matsup was saying that this installation may be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but coming before that it's surprising to me that a essentially semi-permanent installation of 3 years inside of any of these parks did not go through the parks committee. I don't think that it did, or the trustees, the city council in their capacity as trustees. Even yeah, it just seems like that just from the process perspective alone, that's something that maybe needs a better look going forward.
Thank you for both of those.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Director Krucky?
I have
Hi, Chair.
Okay, Arlene, I hear you.
Well, well, I just wanted to, under the in the agenda, there's the erosion along Diamond Head coastline. And I was wondering what the city is doing about that, as far as, you know, looking at the condos in that area, determining which ones might be, you know, being undermined, and if that's on the city's agenda right now.
You know, there's portions that are being worked on, as you all know, and portions not. Maybe I can talk to DDC and see if we can get, you know, a map and kind of break down what's happening in different areas, if anything. I'll talk to DDC about that.
Yeah, because I know that they're fixing the wall in front of Barefoot Cafe. That work is ongoing right now, but I'm more concerned about some of the condos that are like 10 or 15 stories high that are literally right on the sand along the Gold Coast, and at high tides, their foundations are being pounded.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the suggestion from Arlene was to maybe do a walkthrough with the state because of the, you know, conflicting jurisdictional issues. So, yeah, but thank you, Arlene. And I see Daisy.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director. Thank DTS for announcing on the bus the next routes. That really helps because the message board, not everyone can read. Thank you very much. It works. The other problem is I'm not sure if I'm the only person who has that problem of trying to read the new blue and green signs on the buses to announce what bus route it is, because I think it's still better to have it as white on a dark background rather than to have it blue, because sometimes it takes a while to adjust your eyes to say, oh, this is route 13 or this is route 2, etc. So I know DTS is still studying, but it would help. And the other thing is the mayor announced that we can have outdoor seating now. And I believe he mentioned 36 inches being the allowable width to allow people on wheelchairs, etc., to pass by. But is it ADA compliant? Because I believe it's 45 inches for on the sidewalk to be ADA compliant. So that needs to be, if that could be checked, because it does make a difference. Because people on motorized scooters, they're not short. They're very wide, so it would help. And the last is regarding the U.S. Army Corps Engineers project on the flood risk of Alawite Canal. I can't believe at last year's meeting he mentioned it was a $1 billion tag, and this year, within 1 year, it grew to another $10 billion. That seems as though there are other projects attached to it, so maybe we could have Army Corps explain why it costs so much within a year. But thank you for doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy.
Okay. There's no other questions, and thank you so much, Director Crucky.
I have, this is Arlene again. I have one more other question. In the news and in the newspaper, there has been a lot of articles about how many pedestrians have been struck on our streets since the beginning of the year. And I know you must be doing something about that. And I was wondering if you could let us know what the city is looking at. And I was wondering if, I know this is a Department of Transportation question, but I looked up the laws for pedestrians crossing here in Honolulu, and it says you don't have to stop if a pedestrian is less than halfway through the intersection if you're turning right. And that just seems kind of dangerous to me. I learned to drive in an area where you had to stop if the pedestrians walked off the street, you had to stop until they were completely safely across.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Metzen? I think Ms. Metzen is thinking deeply. She's transmitting telepathically to you, so you can pick up her message.
Me anyway.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, okay. We commute on other levels, but forgot to turn off mute. Thank you so much, Director Crucky, for all of this. I just really want to stress that also you were present at the meeting with DTS, and we had our minutes posted. They need to be corrected to include you because we really value your participation at that meeting. And as far as your report tonight, it's most welcome as usual. So I just want to mention those things. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the one at the library. I tried to get there, but something else came up. But thank you for sending me those invites. If I can make them, I will.
Thank you, Director Crucky. Okay, have a wonderful rest of your month.
You.
Okay.
I wanted to ask the director something about since the traffic.
I'm sorry, who's? Is this a member
We
of the
have
public?
a member of the community here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, since transit was being brought up about pedestrian accidents and whatnot, I thought that was actually something that I could comment on, is that when pedestrians are actually breaking certain laws, regardless if it's just jaywalking or running into a crosswalk, or if we have the e-bike situation where people are riding their bikes, which is not supposed to be done on crosswalks or into crosswalks. The point is that enforcement when it comes on vehicles, we don't see enforcement by police officers on pedestrians that are breaking the laws, which makes it unsafe for them to walk because police officers are being guided towards financially finding people through tickets. Hey, they can get just as much tickets as they want to demonstrate that they're working through pedestrians that are negligent to what the laws are, which includes tourists too. So tourists don't know our Hawaii laws. We do not have a uniform code when it comes to all 50 states in the United States. Hawaii is different on how it operates on a lot of things. And we always target car drivers. And the issue is that people are not spreading the word. When I was a child, I was told about not running into the crosswalk, not riding my bike into the crosswalk. This is things that have not been passed on. And if you have to do so through ticketing, I think you have to have the police also ticket the pedestrians that, cross into the crosswalk when they're not supposed to. But then that also creates the problem with the homeless because a lot of homeless offenders now are just walking at any time through whatever crosswalk that, well, not even a crosswalk, but at any time in any intersection, regardless if they're inside or outside of the crosswalk. So if the police are not targeting pedestrians, and because some of them might be homeless and they don't want to touch the homeless because that's just a prerogative on their part, how is this actually fair to the entire community?
Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Can I ask your name?
Sorry.
Can you state your name?
My name is Dylan Davis.
Thank you.
I just had one more comment to kind of piggyback off of that. This is for Director Krucky. I know in there's certain areas that they are doing repayments or they are doing what is it? Yeah, it is repayments, and they're moving some of the crosswalks in areas that where former crosswalks existed and the habits have been made. Is it possible to put up a do not cross sign? And this is specifically like Kapiolani Boulevard is the worst. And I know there's a lot of movements there. Kapahulu, they've been doing this as well. And yeah, around Rainbow Drive-In, they paved over it, over the Safeway by Leonard's. They did it over there. And I know they said it'll come with time, but there's a lot of habits that have formed. And I think this also goes back to what Dylan was saying, where it's like, there's not much being done, but also we've created these habits as well. And I think that if we're expecting people to mold into what we're trying to do for safety, there should also give them the chance by saying like, do not cross here. There are safer options. So just the do not cross signs, please, on the blacked out crosswalks.
Yeah, I think your transportation committee is the one that could bring that up when they're either from their minutes that give it to DTS or not. I think it's a great committee to now they've got the connection they've solved some signage problems. So if we could, put that through the transportation committee, that could be a way to get that to DTS.
Okay, thank you. And I see Bruce is waving his hand. I'm guessing you want to say something, Bruce?
Yeah, I brought this up many times before. Elevated crosswalks work. It slows everybody down. It slows the traffic down. And that's why they were put up in front of McKinley High School. And so just bite the bullet and put up these elevated crosswalks. It'll really help the community.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay.
Well, on top of that, elevated crosswalks are a great idea, but it actually is problematic in certain degrees. What would actually be better is pedestrian cross bridges. So let's just build infrastructure that's just great versus infrastructure that's problematic. I agree. We should have separate crosswalks for pedestrians and cars so that way we can avoid pedestrians and cars from being in interaction with each other. But the solution isn't something that's actually going to be more detrimental in the long run. So instead of wasting money on these elevated crosswalks that we think are effective, we can actually make better infrastructure that actually works towards separating pedestrians and transit vehicles, so we don't have to worry about collisions.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask our transportation chair, the committee chair, who is not here tonight, Margaret, to look at some of these issues so that we can move on ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate this, our community member very much for bringing all of this up. I'm a little confused about elevated crosswalks. Are we talking about speed humps near McKinley High School? Because that's what was installed in both directions. Elevated crosswalks, that would appear to be Brian Schatz's bridge across Ala-Moana. What are we talking about here?
I think
What-
Bruce is talking about that just exactly.
I'm talking about the raised crosswalks,
Yeah.
like the ones in front of McKinley High School.
Not a
That's what I'm
bridge.
talking about, not a bridge.
Okay, so you're talking about crosswalks which are above grade level, but not speed humps, is that correct? Because we're talking about the same thing along Diamond Head Road, which is really
That's right.
significant.
That's right. And I think we should bring these matters up in our transportation committee. So we have other business to move on to now, but thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Krucky. And so thank you, Chair Waters, for waiting and for coming tonight. We appreciate you coming. I think you're on mute, maybe. Not yet. Hold the space bar. Nope. It doesn't show that you're muted. Your volume might be all the way down on the input.
What is he talking?
Water. Nope. I think it could be your volume might be down in the settings. Yeah, check your settings for a second there, Chair Waters. It could be on your.
You also might want to exit and come back. That also sometimes resets it.
Right. Good idea. Exit and then come back, and then we'll just go on to Scott Nishimoto and then come back to Chair Waters. And I think someone is here from Scott Nishimoto's office. From Councilmember Nishimoto's office. Hello. Yes. Hi, Kylie.
I just have a really quick announcement for this month. Councilmember Nishimoto is going to be hosting an Easter egg hunt and community food drive with Representative Bellotti. So that's going to be taking place this weekend, Saturday, April 12th, 9 a.m. at Makiki District Park. So there's going to be arts and crafts and Easter egg hunts, and all the canned food donations are going to benefit the parish of St. Clement Food Pantry. So we'd love if you could join us there. Also, if you haven't done so already, I'll leave a link in the chat to subscribe to Council Members' Weekly e-blast, where we share important updates and community events happening throughout District 5. I'm going to put all this information in the chat as well, but if there's any questions, feel free to ask them on and I can let Council Member know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kylie. Are there questions for Councilmember Nishimoto's office?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is Angie. This is kind of just a broad jurisdiction question, because I know on the council side there was a task force for game rooms, but if someone knows or if someone told me about a suspected one, who should I go to with that? Is that HPD or is that you guys to look into? I just don't know what to do with the information.
Yeah, if you could just put my email in the chat and then I can figure that out for you or point you in the right direction. But yeah, if you could email me the info, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there other questions for Councilmember Nishimoto's office and Kylie? Okay, please put the that food drive something District Park. I couldn't quite catch what it was.
Yeah, Makiki District Park. I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, Makiki District Park. Okay, thank you. Well, I hope Tommy comes back on, but in the meantime, we'll just continue down the agenda. We have, is there anyone from Congressman Case, Senator Schatz, or Senator Hirono's office here? Seeing not, we have Governor Josh Green's representative here. I see Ryan Aguilar. Hey, Ryan.
Hello. Thank you, Chair, and board members. Yeah, I don't have a report this evening, but I am ready to take any questions back to the GovComms team that you guys might have.
Arlene, you want to bring up the beach, maybe combo walk?
Well, I brought up the erosion issue along the Gold Coast because right now it's both a state and city jurisdiction issue. And there are a lot of condos that are on literally their foundations are in the sand along the beach, between Kaimana Beach and Makalei Park. And it's that area that they're old condos, and I'm concerned about the erosion and corrosion of the steel that's in the foundations because it's known that seawater really accelerates the corrosion of steel and cement. So I'd like to know that somebody's looking at those buildings and making sure that they're being inspected regularly and that they're safe.
Thank you, Arlene. Are there any other comments or questions for Mr. Aguilar?
Well, along the same kind of lines as Arlene again, there's a paper that came out recently, a scientific paper from some local scientists here at UH that shows that the acceleration of the sinking of the South Shore is happening much quicker than they anticipated. And that, along with rising sea levels, is it's a pretty dangerous situation for our South Shore. And I just wanted to know that the governors I know he has a lot of task force in the environmental area that they're addressing this.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the governor's rep?
I got two things I would like to ask the governor's rep, Mr. Aguilar. Has there been an establishment of that Washington, D.C. office that he wanted to create where they had 3 people in D.C. and 2 people here in Hawaii to see what's going on with the volatility of what's going on in D.C.? Has there been any update on hires on that?
Okay, so it's a committee there's 3 people in DC, 2 here, and your question is if there's been any.
Has it been established, and does it have its people already filling the slots?
Okay.
Has the committee been established, and are the people in place?
I can take that back to them. I don't have an answer for you this evening, but I can take it back to GovComms and get a response to you.
Okay, well, just let them know that I'd probably be one of the better candidates to be on that committee. Just FYI. Secondly, are there any federal cuts that our state is being affected by currently that you know of or can tell us about? I'm hearing other states getting certain budgets cut. Are you aware of anything on budgets being cut here through federal funding?
Okay, I can also take that back as well. I'm guessing that there are several budgets within state as well as nonprofits that are partners with state for different projects, but I can take that question back as well.
Do you know anything about the 5212 federal program, which is basically the DUI roadblocks? Do you know if that's being affected at all?
Again, I would have to take that to their team.
All right.
Okay.
This is Arlene again. I have one other question. One issue that's deeply disturbing me that's happening at the federal level and does affect states is the picking up of people to deport without due process. And I was wondering if the state can do anything to ensure that anyone picked up in this state is not just flown out of here without due process.
Thank you for that. I will add that to the list.
Thank you. Is there a gentleman in the audience also has another question for the governor's rep?
I'm just going back. I was here last month, and I just want to reiterate what I was bringing up. There's a stretch of road. It's like the kind of the end of Waialae Avenue before the on-ramp H1 West. That stretch of road is people speed there all the time. This is probably something for the transportation department also. But there's a lot of speeding there all the time, and it's very dangerous to cross the street there because people are just barreling down the road just to get on the highway. And just like that other gentleman that was talking about speed humps, I think we need speed humps along that whole stretch right there to slow people down.
Thank you. And that might be, I know that was given to also to Mr. Crucky. So between the two of either it's city or state, we can have that looked into.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the governor's rep? Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Mr.
Aguilar.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to ask that the speaker, the community speaker before the last one, return to the mic. I was very interested in his comments. I did not catch his name. I'm sorry.
Is that Dylan?
Yes.
Okay. It's coming up.
Thank
Yes,
you.
what is your question? What did
Thank you so much. I totally appreciate your insight, your ability to analyze and bring up pertinent questions concerning our community district on the national level. I'd like to know a little bit more about your qualifications, what sub-district you reside in, if you do reside in this community district for Diamond Head-Kapahulu, St. Louis Heights.
Yeah, I'm in both. And what I mean by that is that I have a property on Kapiolani Boulevard and I have my own house in St. Louis Heights.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what
I have a
street?
property on Kapiolani Boulevard and I have my own home, which is in St. Louis Heights. I'm in both sub-districts and essentially.
Okay. So, the present election shows that St. Louis Heights is a competing district for candidates. But you do have a property on Kapiolani.
Yeah, it's a rental property on Kapiolani and again, I have my residence that's in St. Louis Heights.
Okay, well, I guess at this point, I would personally like to welcome you to provide your input more at the neighborhood board. Actually, it's a community district level, and perhaps become a member of one of our committees. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do talk with the mayor's office a lot. I do it on an individual basis. But becoming a board member at this point might not fit if I have to be elsewhere. So there are a lot of issues. I don't want to get into too much to the weeds. There's a lot of details that I have problems with. And unfortunately, our district for Honolulu Police Department, District 7, there's a lot of give and take, but unfortunately, there's a little bit too much take on that side. And I don't want to get into the weeds on that because it's really messy. But yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be brought to the community's attention. And my thing is, we, the taxpayers, are paying an exorbitant amount of our state's budget into the Honolulu Police Department's budget. And we even had flippy comments from Captain Ballard from a couple years back when she was getting upset at the job that she felt that she could give $100 million back from the budget to help with the homeless situation. That right there tells me that HPD's budget is super inflated, and we have not properly trained HPD officers.
Hey,
And,
Dylan, you know
oh yeah, I
what?
know. Yeah.
We're on Governor Aguilar's. We're finishing
Yeah,
up.
sorry about that. But I'm
That's
just
okay.
I'm just pointing
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
thank you for coming in. We appreciate your input. It's just we got to follow the agenda as best as we can. It was just like herding cats sometimes. But thank you, Ryan Aguilar. And Tommy, yeah, thank you for being patient. I hope your microphone is working now because we are going to move over to you. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
Are you
There you
able
go.
to hear me?
Yep.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, Chair Welch and board members. Nice to see you all. I have 7 things I wanted to bring up tonight. First is, as you may know, that the city entered into a consent decree with the EPA as well as Sierra Club and other groups, which requires the city to upgrade to secondary treatment our wastewater treatment plants. Unfortunately, that's going to cost $1.8 billion. And how the city is proposing to pay for it is raising your sewer fees 9% a year for the next decade, which would amount to a 100% increase on sewer fees. As you know, the Board of Water Supply has been wonderful about coming to the neighborhood boards to explain how they are increasing your water fees. So just think about it. For the next 10 years, if you're currently paying $150, which is about what I pay, and I'm a low water user, it'll now then cost $300. If you're a high water user and you're paying $400, that will double, and then you'll be paying $800. So I'm trying to figure out a way to defray the cost. And at this point, I was able to find money in the existing budget through vacant positions. So I introduced an amendment to the bill only allowing a 4% increase this year and utilizing the saved money from vacant positions to be paid towards the sewer fund. But that just covers 1 year. We got to look at other ways to try to defray the cost because, as we all know, the cost of living here is really, really expensive. And I'm afraid that a double sewer bill and water bill will likely chase more people out of Honolulu. The second thing is we got to be vigilant, right? Because dealing with the landfill, the city council passed a resolution against putting a landfill over an aquifer, but we're keeping an eye on that. The current spot is over an aquifer, but I'm asking hard questions about what exactly is going to protect the aquifer, how much this will cost, right? But at my mind, I don't think it's worth the risk, and we should look at alternatives. I myself went to visit the current Waimanalo Gulch sanitary landfill. It's unclear how much capacity they have, but it's at least 10 years. Yeah, they're about to do another assessment in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we get an answer on how long they can stay open there. Also, I took this board's recommendations and amended the primary urban core development plan to limit height and density along Kapahulu Avenue and the adjacent neighborhoods, on both sides of Kapahulu Avenue, as well as Wailai Avenue. That was in response to, I know members of this board want this district to be included in the East Honolulu Sustainable Communities Plan. We can still work on that, but I wanted to make sure that we are protected in the primary urban core development plan. Third and final reading is going to be next week, Wednesday. So please chime in if you have an opportunity to come in and support my amendments. That would be great. The planning committee already incorporated our amendments, so it looks good to go. Interestingly, DPP did not like the idea, and I went round and round with them, but I think they finally gave up. But we'll see what happens at Wednesday's hearing. We are also voting on tax rates on Wednesday, and the council at this point agrees with the mayor that we are not raising the tax rate. The tax rate will remain the same at $3.50 per $1,000 of value to your property. So again, if you want to weigh in on that, that's going to be a vote on Wednesday. Dealing with erosion on Diamond Head. 2 years ago, I put money in the budget asking for a match from the state. Unfortunately, that never transpired. It's really unclear. You know, my office did a lot of research on who is responsible for the seawall that is along what they call the Gold Coast, and it's really not clear. Um, but I thought, okay, if it's not clear, let's split it in half. Half taken care of by the city and half taken care of by the state. And maybe we can get Stanley Chang, the senator of the area, to put money in this year's budget. I'm happy to support putting it on our side. The sixth thing is DTS is doing a traffic calming plan for Diamond Head Road. I'd like to invite them to this board to present to you what they've come up with. I haven't gotten the presentation yet, but I know they're working on it. And Adam, who's on the call, has been working with DTS to get that done. But I do want to present it to the community before we actually go out there and implement it. And then lastly, affordable housing. If we have a little bit more time to talk about affordable housing. In last year, the Department of Business and Economic Development has determined that we are over 18,700 units short. They believe that we need to build this many units in order to catch up and make things more affordable. The reason why housing is so unaffordable is because there's a lack of housing available. Interestingly, we talk about area median income, and according to this very same study, the largest group of need is those who fall between 80 and 140% of the area median income. There also is a big need in 60% and below, and even 30% and below. So we're looking at that and trying to get developers to actually build those units at that level. What they always tell us is that it doesn't pencil out. You know, we give a lot of incentives, like we don't make them pay for a park dedication or for a school dedication or any of the permitting fees, which sometimes amounts to millions of dollars, but they still won't build at 30% AMI and below. So I'm trying to figure out, I belong to this cohort with other cities as part of the National Association of Counties project to build affordable housing. Interestingly, affordable housing, the problem is a nationwide problem. We're not the only ones dealing with it. Although in Hawaii, as you know, it's more expensive than most cities on the mainland. Interestingly, also, the state defines affordable housing at 140% AMI. The city defines it at 120% AMI. But according to this National Association of Counties, we need to change that definition. If you're paying over 30% of your income on housing, then it's not affordable. So one of the things that I want to talk about is redefining what exactly affordable housing is. You should also be only paying 10% of your income on transportation. So 40% altogether on housing and transportation. But you know, they have this project called 201H projects. It's a state law that requires the city and county and the other counties to waive all these permitting fees if they build 50% affordable housing, as defined by them at 140% AMI. They give us 45 days to either vote up or down on that. There's a current bill going through the legislature that would take away any discretion of the counties to force the developers to provide more affordable housing. So I know the Ku'ulei project was controversial, but what we did in that project was we required them to build units at 80% AMI and 100% AMI. when they wouldn't have done it otherwise. If this bill passes the legislature, we're not going to have any control over this type of thing. And it simply will be an up or down vote on behalf of the counties. I do want to say, though, when you're talking about 80 and 100 and even 120% AMI, you really are talking about firefighters, police officers, teachers, electricians, beauticians, and working class families. And as I mentioned, there is a need for that. But I also do want to acknowledge there is a need for affordable housing at all price levels, all price levels. So I'm trying to figure out and learn from other jurisdictions on the mainland how they do it. One of the things that I'm learning is you mix them all up. You get marketplace pricing plus affordable pricing, and mixing it all up. You remember a couple of years ago, the city council, before I got there, they had a pour door in one of the buildings and that got shut down. And of course that wasn't right. But really you want to mix it up so that everybody has the same amenities and things of that nature. But that's my presentation, Chair Welch, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much, Council Chair Waters, and thank you for coming tonight. And just to be cognizant of time, we have, or it's about 25 of, and we still have a couple of representatives, so we may have to limit some of this. But let's start with Linda. Okay, Linda's going to also telepathically send her question to you, and we'll go to Michelle in the meantime. Michelle.
Thank you, Chair. Wow. Going way back, Tommy, this was a great update. Thank you so much. Regarding the sewer fees, should we all just stop flushing our toilets except for once a day? I found a solution with irrigation, and that's separating residential irrigation from residential domestic house use water with a sub-meter.
May I ask, how much did that cost you, Michelle?
You can do an application through the Department of Environmental Services. The sub-meter, Ferguson charges $1,100 for a sub-meter. I found it online for about $800. Plus I have an installer, and I had a sub-meter. So it's a retroactive, but it hasn't been reported in several years. So I'm going to reactivate that, because my irrigation costs more than my household use. So I have a lot of trees, and that's fighting climate change. Okay?
No, that's really smart. And I do want to suggest that to others. Normally you get a credit for, I think it's maybe 15% of your bill is discounted for irrigation. But as you mentioned, a lot of people in our district have beautiful yards and a lot of water is spent watering their yards.
And trees.
If at some point, maybe offline, you can let me know where you got your sub-meter and the installer, and I can pass that on to other residents.
Happy to do that. Then regarding several other things, these high-rise developments, AMI, this and HH, the HH, whatever it is, the state giving all these exemptions to all these high-powered developers to get their projects through, to give them all these benefits at the taxpayers' expense. This is outrageous. We will have, and you have been our champion. You have defended our community district, specifically Kapahulu, from this onslaught of I guess, aggressive, money mongering developments that will squeeze out our residents, our families, into little tiny compartmentalized high-rise units with so-called amenities that they charge for. Where are we going with this? Where are our communities? Where are our historic, traditional communities that we all invested in for the quality of our lives that we have now? It's going to disintegrate, just like Washington's trying to disintegrate everything else.
You know,
Thank you for.
interestingly, there's a bill currently to do away with the tax exemption for historic homes. I'm not sure if your home is historic or not, but I don't support that. You know, I love the
you.
old architecture, and I think that should be supported. But just want to let you
Thank
know
you.
that there is a bill that would do away with that exemption.
My home is not historic. However, there are many homes in Manoa that are. And there are many homes in Diamond Head and surrounding. Many of these owners do not know about this exemption, but it's a way to preserve our history, our legacy for future generations. We've got to think about this. We cannot think about these money mongering developers overpowering our society as we have known it, as we have invested in it, as our families depend upon it. And thank you for supporting us, Tommy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Are there any
Yes,
other
yes.
questions?
Linda Wong, please.
I'm
Linda
sorry.
Wong. Linda Wong.
Oh, Linda, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to just only raise one question so others can speak also. I specifically would like you to keep on doing what you're doing about new construction and keeping everything low rise on Kapahulu and in our area. I want to preserve our neighborhoods, and they're going out the window if you don't do that. So please follow through, and you'll be going the right way, and we'll be grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I have to thank you, Linda, Michelle, Winston, and the whole board. It was your idea to amend the primary urban core development plan the way we did. So it's working together to ensure this. So thank you guys.
We'll keep on doing that.
And Bruce?
Yeah, I just one comment for Tommy. Again, thank you for your help and your work in this area. But to me, the problem with property taxes is the way they assess the property taxes, because the assessment is the problem. It varies and it keeps on going up because of all the outside money coming in. So to me, the assessment should be taken at whatever value it is now, and then from that point on, just go 2% a year at the max annually. So the property taxes isn't the problem; it's the assessment that's the problem, because the assessment just keeps rising because of outside money coming in, driving up prices, and so it'll never stop. So we have to basically stop that from happening. Does that make sense to you, Tommy?
But it makes total sense. And the reason you're right, your property value keeps going up, so your property tax bill goes up. I understand that. That's why we tried to increase the homeowner's exemption. And by the way, Bruce, I'm not sure if you're aware, right now the law provides that you are capped at 3% of your income if you make $80,000 or less. So if you make $80,000 or less, you can apply for this program, which would cap you at 3%. So I want to, share that with you and the rest of the community that, that's a great program for people who don't have the income to afford property taxes. But thank you. No, I understand that. And I interestingly, right, when I speak with the director of budget and fiscal services, and what I'm told, which makes sense, currently the city is in collective bargaining over pay raises for police officers, actually all city workers, firefighters, you know, the guys who work at the golf course, everybody, all city workers. And that could cost upwards of 50 to 75 million dollars. And we got to find the money for that. And we depend on property taxes in order to pay our city workers. In many respects, our city workers, like at DPP, are paid very, very little. That's why I think we have part of the problems we have at DPP, where it takes so long to get a darn permit, because you're paying these plan reviewers only 35,000 a year, right? You cannot afford a house making that kind of money in Hawaii anymore. So property taxes are key, is all I'm trying to say. But maybe for kupuna, who are on fixed income, that 2% a year might work.
Thank you, Tommy. Yeah,
Thank you.
this is
But take a look at that program. $80,000 or below, your property taxes are capped. We're thinking of raising that to $100,000 a year. But again, when we were looking at all the bills that the city has, we're not sure how much that'll cost us if we raise it to 100,000.
And Councilmember Waters, perhaps Adam or
Mr.
some
Chair.
understaff could put all that in a newsletter so people can know more about that. I hadn't heard of that one, but
Chair Welch,
yes, ma'am.
I would like to make a brief comment to Tommy's analysis. I would like to give him an example of a property here on my street that was sold for $650,000 with a single family dwelling. It was remodeled to a two-story single family dwelling. And that remodel costs $800,000. You add those two together, and today you have a house down the street that somebody walked in and paid $4 million for, which raises all of our property taxes because somebody walks in because he wants to live here. He's from the mainland, and he'll pay $1 million over asking price. This is outrageous because it defeats the reason we invested into these properties for our retirement, for our children. We won't be able to afford to live here with this type of structuring. You have to go back and look at California. Look at Proposition 13. Give us what the value was that we invested in, that we paid for, that we're living on. And do not give us the exponential appreciation that these offshore investors want to invest and kill us all out of our neighborhoods. Thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Michelle.
And thank you,
And to
Waters.
bank
You know what? I'm gonna have to cut it off right there. I'm sorry, Dylan. We've got
it's actually really important what I have to say. It's really
Chair,
easy
there
done.
was a community member, and then Arlene and I also had a quick question.
It's actually a long proposition.
Okay, let's keep it brief if we could.
I'll keep it brief. So it's a long Proposition 13, but Tommy, we can just do it without it being Proposition 13, create our own proposition that's very similar. And it is, why are we paying taxes on unrealized gains? Why aren't we being treated as billionaires that don't have to pay taxes on their unrealized gains in the stock market? So I don't remember what her name is. It might be Linda who was speaking out to you about Proposition 13. But what it is that we can make our own proposition based on when we bought into and what our tax reported price was for our tax assessment. And we shouldn't be paying on unrealized gains because we didn't sell our properties, and we should be paying our taxes based on that.
Well, let me ask you this. Yep. If then when you sell, would you be willing to pay that difference?
So because
it'd be this unrealized gains. Once the gains become realized and your property is worth $500,000 more, would you be willing to pay the back taxes?
No, not on the back
I think that might be fair.
No,
right?
but what I'm saying is when a new person buys it.
If we limit it now, and by the way, I think we should do that for kupuna and people who actually can't afford it. But if you can afford it, you know, we should.
Well, it's not about ability. That's unfair. And what it comes down to is you make it actually livable in the state of Hawaii, which is what you claim. You want it to be livable for our
what I'm
people.
saying is, you said there's unrealized gain.
We're
Once
paying on
you
the unrealized gain.
once you realize the gain, say your property's over 500,000, you sell it, and you make $500,000 in profit. Would you be willing to pay the higher tax at that point?
So the thing is, when someone buys in at,
And
let's say,
that's pretty easy, yes or no?
the
If
answer is
that's
I'm
the
willing to
kind of
work
way
with
you
you on
gotta,
it, but we have to
think
be
about
very
this,
specific on that wording.
right?
I kind of like where it's going. It's more on the yes than it's no side. But the thing is, what happens when the person who buys into it, let's say they buy it at 4 million, they're paying their property taxes at 4 million at 3.5%. Then on top of it, the other thing too you have to work out on is you have to work out on special interest groups, REITs, and anything that's nonprofit that don't pay any taxes, that if it comes back, and now we don't do the $0 down thing. We got to do, what was actual agreed value when they took over. And at that time, when it's a nonprofit, you have to say at the time your property is worth this much. This is what your nonprofit has to pay annually to not just jump out, because that's what burdens the rest of us, is all those that are not paying on their property taxes by utilizing nonprofit status or even REIT status. So when you talk about wanting to understand what's going on in the community, or even take a look at the counties in the mainland, you should be also looking at the other tactics that are done by other tax deferring obligations that people use to get out of their taxes, and then say, hey, we're going to eliminate this nonsense and we're going to have a no nonsense approach towards our real estate property taxes so that it is livable for the people of Hawaii. And I would support that. Now, if you want to talk about the
Hey,
unrealized
Dylan,
gains,
you know
I
what?
agree.
Thank you, but I gotta have to cut you off there. Arlene,
Point
you're
of
gonna
order,
wrap us
Mr.
up.
Chair.
No, I'm
Point of
sorry,
order.
All right.
Michelle. I'm
You know
sorry,
what?
Michelle.
We have
Point
10
of
No,
minutes
order.
Michelle. Michelle.
left,
No,
Winston.
Arlene has a comment, and then we're gonna have to move on. So
Point
Well,
thank
of
we
you.
have 10
order.
minutes left. My comment, I'll talk to Tommy on a
You're
separate.
not recognizing a point of order, Mr. Chair.
No, I'm not, because we have to move on. So I'm sorry. We have Tommy.
Well,
We
maybe
would
we
love to
should
have a
take this
meeting
up
with
with
you,
the
Tommy.
neighborhood
Just-
commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. We'd love to have you just as a special guest. So let's make and
We're
talk
talking
about
about
zoning and
capital
planning and all.
gains taxes here, not screwing the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Arlene, you said you're going to talk to Tommy offline.
I just wanted to know the bill number that he said was coming up this week that would stop the city council from forcing affordable housing.
Thank you, Arlene. I'll email it to you.
Thank you. And yeah, also huge mahalos for keeping our community low rise and working with I guess with DPP and everybody else. That was a huge gain. We really appreciate your backing in that. So thank you to you and your staff and for coming tonight. And with that, we will have to let you go. So look forward to seeing you next
Tommy,
month.
one other thing real quick. It has
No
to do
more
with-
thing,
No,
Dylan.
it's really important. It's about that. It's about that.
Dylan, you're out of
negotiation
order,
thing.
Dylan.
I understand about order, but it's actually really important.
That's
Real quick,
okay.
Tommy.
I know it's really important, but we're moving on to Mr. Olds. So
Well, it's
Representative
actually about
Olds, please go ahead.
So actually, in conjunction with the irrigation that we have spent over, I don't know, over a decade doing.
Dylan, no, we're done. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Tommy. I think Mr. Olds may have left, which is, I'm sorry, Mr.
I try to
Olds.
do this in 1 minute.
Okay, go ahead. Yep.
I represent David Kaika Olds, House District 23, Kapahulu, Waiili, Macaulay, Palamana. Hello, for my first time ever coming to your board, so it's a pleasure that I'm the only one from the Capitol here, so I'll bear all that weight as best I can. So right now we're finishing up our House resolutions, our Senate resolution hearings, and next week we're going to start our conferences. So now we're getting into the fireworks of the session. Right now, the only real bills that I would like to talk about are appertaining to homelessness. One we've been working with one of your board members. So HB 943 is the homeless triage bill that I reported on last time. So it passed through the Senate and it just got rejected by the House 2 days ago. And so we will be taking it to conference. The homeless triage bill would be very important in the continuum of care, in which case, if an individual is getting either MH1 or is voluntarily getting themselves into the Behavioral Health Crisis Center. After that 24-hour window, they will be able to continue their care. So they'll be able to step off the ledge and then continue their care either in mental health treatment or substance abuse treatment for a longer period instead of going back out onto the street or having to go into a hospital, state hospital. So it's a way for us to save some money, get the treatment that these individuals need. And we're really kind of crossing our fingers that it will survive conference, but because we have no money, we will see. But it's very important. Another one that just I want to bring up is the SB 38. So it just passed the House on Tuesday. I did vote no on that bill. I really do not agree on taking away the county's ability to help regulate the housing market. There are people in the body that are very enthused about creating housing at any cost. I do believe in housing. I think housing first is the best option to address homelessness, but unregulated, just free range housing, we only have finite space on this land and we cannot just be building unregulated just for the sake of building the 18,700 units that we need. I'll keep it limited to that. I'll open for any questions.
Thank you, Representative Olds. Is there a question for the representative? And thank you for coming tonight and staying the whole meeting. But you get a good breadth and depth of what the community concerns are. So thank you. Linda?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Linda?
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you for coming and please keep voicing your opinion and informing us so that more people can talk and correlate with you. You're doing good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms.
Mr.
Matson?
Chair, I totally agree with Board Member Wong, Linda Wong. Representative Oles, thank you so much for your independent perspective. I totally agree with you as an individual, and please continue supporting our community interests. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Angie. Can I add, as the person that is working with him on HB 943, just to promote, whenever we were talking about reimagining public safety, the detox center is part of that. The homeless triage and treatment center, it is part of diversion. And so that is a lot of what Representative Old is looking at, is the root causes of homelessness and how to really end it. And so when we talk about our chronically homeless, substance use disorders, this is a major part of it. So just look into HB 943 and the disagreements that the House has to say, just make sure that it goes to conference. So call your representatives if you guys have bills
Too
going on
late.
right now. Get people to, assign conferees. So then the conversation continues.
Thank you. Thank you, Angie. And thank you for coming tonight, Representative Olds.
Sure. Thank you.
We have just a couple minutes left. We do have our next meeting, of course, second Thursday. I did want to jump ahead. For board district reports, we have an opening for Kapahulu Subdistrict 2, and we have someone who's actually willing to fill it. Is that still true? There's a gentleman there who.
I would be happy to fill it, Anthony Miranda.
Okay, Anthony, thank you. With that, we don't have any committee reports, so let's go back to the subdistrict reports. Julia, is there anything that you have?
Yes, the next St. Louis Heights Community Association meeting will be Monday, May 12th, 7 p.m. at Hokalani Elementary School.
Thank you. And Linda Wong for Subdistrict 3, anything to report?
I'm trying to get my microphone.
It's working.
Okay, thank you. I'll my time so that more people can speak. Thank you.
Okay. Did anybody else go to another public meeting?
No, but this is Arlene. I just got a text from a neighbor that the Diamond Head area around Waikiki Elementary is out of water, and they're saying the main water break, and they're saying we might not have water for a day or two. So just so
Oh,
everyone is
boy.
aware.
Okay. We have approval of meeting minutes, but I don't think we really have enough time to go into those. So I think with that,
Mr. Chair, I
yes,
have
ma'am.
a comment on the Planning and Zoning Committee.
Oh, you do? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I have looked into this controversy regarding Kanaina Street and the 4 units that are proposed to be developed that were presented to the board. And the consultant gave a very comprehensive presentation to our board. But the ownership is questionable because there is a development agency on Waialae that is spearheading this. And yet there is a Chinese developer who owns the property and somebody else who is a lessee. And the question is, who's doing what here? And what
Well,
sort of benefits are they getting? This is basically a retroactive spot zoned lot because the original lots were all residential.
Well, and with that, Michelle,
Single
I'm
family
sorry, but
lots
we're out
and
of time, Michelle. So I'm going to suggest you do a planning and zoning committee meeting, but with that, we are out of time and I am adjourning the meeting. So thank you everybody for coming. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your month. Aloha.